Chapter 608, Ringleader. Chapter 608, Ringleader. He didn't tell Qiao Qiudao's team that he had gotten the location of Yang Zhuo and the others through the immortal blood. They were in the territory of the martial spirit palace. He had to pass the spirit treasure sect to go to the martial spirit palace. He wanted to visit the spirit treasure sect first to check the situation, and then he would decide whether to go to the martial spirit palace's area or not. Qiao Qiudao and Fan Xiangyan had a relatively high cultivation base. However, they were taking almost 100 warriors with different cultivation bases. When such a force went towards the martial spirit palace, it would be hazardous. He had locked the teleportation formation in the northern Gem Mountain. Since he had built this formation himself, when he found Yang Zhuo's group, he could create a new one, then use the space nodes to break the lock of the formation in the northern Gem Mountain. At that time, Qiao Qiudao's team could get there from thousands of miles away. With a careful calculation, he used the fastest speed to glide above the spirit treasure sect. Several days later, he arrived at the wonderful stone city. Hovering above the wonderful stone city, his face darkened as he let out a long sigh. The wonderful stone city was devastated. The city walls were broken badly, and the city was like a young maid who was raped many times. This scene looked incomparably pathetic. He saw no shadows in the city. Places where the packed stores used to stand were all empty. All the materials were robbed. Decaying bodies exuded a pungent smell in the whole city. Insects moved in schools, operating happily in every corner. Sure, Yin shook his head while his soul consciousness was moving. He understood that the pagan clans had attacked the city. Fortunately, there weren't many bodies in the city, just around several thousand. This number was much different from the number of human warriors staying in the wonderful stone city. This meant many people had escaped this calamity. The body of a spirit realm warrior had an evident difference from the ordinary warriors. It wouldn't decompose in a short time. Using his soul consciousness to sense for a while, he didn't find any warriors at this realm. Thus, he was sure Zhu Yi's group was still alive. Gliding through the wonderful stone city, he flew towards the shady firmament old mound. Sure Yen concealed his aura and the anger in his heart. Shady Firmament Old Mound was the gathering place of the Ghost Mark clan. As the catastrophe had happened in the divine Great Land, members of the Ghost Mark clan should have their powers recovered. They wouldn't hide anymore and would operate everywhere. With this assumption, he was ready to fight when he reached the Shady Firmament Old Mound. Arriving at that bleak plain, looking at the burrows leading underground, Shuryen squinted as he was sensing the cold aura diffusing from the holes. His eyes sparkled with cold light. A flow of soul consciousness that he had disguised and concealed sneaked into a burrow, entering deeper into the shady firmament old mound. Swoosh! His soul consciousness had barged onto an invisible barrier, causing fire to spark. Sure, Yen was shaken as he thought the situation wasn't good. He retreated his soul consciousness and ran away immediately. Not long after he had left, a second sky of spirit realm warrior of the Ghost Mark clan walked out from the burrow Yen had sent his soul consciousness into. That man was wearing a new armor with strange patterns. He wasn't bony anymore. Quite the contrary. This man was sturdy as his body was releasing waves of a dangerous energy. He stood at the entrance, snorted, then released his soul power to sense. After a while, he frowned, retrieving his soul consciousness and getting back to the cave with regret. However, right at this moment, the 3 narrow, snow-white bone thorns appear behind him like lightning and stabbed him in just a blink of an eye. At the same time, under the dazzling sunlight above that warrior's head, a red light spot enlarged. A man that looked like an angel, holding a giant sword with a brutal aura, rumblingly descended from the sky. The sword was full of the destructive negative energy, storming into the warrior's sea of consciousness. Puff! The ghost scripture armor on his back was pierced through instantly, leaving 3 arm-sized holes in the middle of his back. Blood gushed out fiercely. Blood trickled from the corners of his mouth as the Ghost Mark clan's warrior couldn't help but shout painfully. However, his scream was hindered as a torrential wave of air ruthlessly was pressing from the sky. That warrior didn't have time to use the superior attainment of the Ghost Mark clan. He could only urge the ghost tattoo, creating a dead with spirit armor to cover his body. Courting death. The man above his head smiled faintly. The giant sword in his hand was slashing down like a massive mountain on the warrior's head. Bang, bang. That man felt his brain was shaken, and his sea of consciousness was disordered. Blood was continually streaming from the wounds on his back. Then he went unconscious shortly. The young man holding the giant sword revealed himself at this moment. He grabbed the warrior by his neck and hurried to flee away from this area. After half an hour, 2 members of the Ghost Mark clan with Spirit Realm Cultivation Base appeared at the entrance of that cave. Someone had fought here. One of the 2 discolored. He walked towards a blood puddle, touched it, then said coldly, "It's the blood of our clansmen. Damn it! Someone has ambushed here. Report it. We shall chase and kill that murderer." The 2 hotshots of the Ghost Mark clan immediately released their soul consciousness, using their soul to contact some secret place in the subterranean shady firmament Old Mound to report their findings. Not long afterward, many members of the Ghost Mark clan appeared in this bleak plain, all having an excellent cultivation base. Cold Een aura diffused from them as they scattered to every direction to search for the target. The northern Cold City was deadly silent. Just like the wonderful Stone City, the northern Cold City was one of the primary cities of the Spirit Treasure sect. But today, it was just a desolate city, as if its prosperity was just something in the past. Cold air exuded in a shabby store in the south of the city. A member of the Ghost Mark clan was covered in thick ice, sparing only his head. Blood covered his face, which made him look fiercer. Sher Yen was standing in front of him, increasing the power of the ice-cold flame to keep that man conscious. "I want to know what has happened in the divine Great Land during the past year," he asked coldly as a scarlet flame burst out from his fingertip. He put his finger on that man's chest. As his body was sealed in the ice, the flame drilled through the whole block of ice. In the extremely cold ice, the scorching flame didn't bring him any bit of warmth. Quite the contrary, it was a torture making him want to kill himself. However, when his thought had just appeared, his sea of consciousness surged, and that thought was dispersed. As you have the second sky of Spirit Realm Cultivation Base in the Ghost Mark clan, you shouldn't be someone that no one knows. However, if you want to use the treasure to report or make your soul collapse to exchange for sending the information here, it isn't appropriate, you know. Sure, Yin curled his lips and laughed. "I know your Ghost Mark clan's soul Upanishads, so don't do your tricks in front of me." "Sher Yen, you are Sher Yen," the Ghost Mark clan's expert suddenly shouted, his face indignant. Sher Yen beamed a smile. "You know me?" Our Ghost Mark clan had poured the calamity on the Spirit Treasure sect. We got your profile from many experts of the Spirit Treasure sect. Haha, it's you. It's you who broke into the place and let the Ghost Mark clan see the sunlight again. Also, it's you who has activated the universe barrier, leading to the great change of heaven and earth. Haha. The catastrophe of the divine Great Land is because of you. We must remember your favor. Well, my benefactor. You are the benefactor of our clan, but you are the sinner of the entire humanity. The Ghost Mark clan's expert laughed until tears rolled down his face. He looked both insane and joyful. With his words, Sher Yen was struck hard. He stood stupefied, not moving an inch. Ringleader. He was the ringleader. Previously, he could vaguely feel that the change of heaven and earth was somehow related to him. However, he didn't want to accept it. He didn't want to overthink. He just wanted to avoid the fact. Today, through this Ghost Mark clan's warrior, he had finally known that he was the cause of the change in this world. thinking about the catastrophe of the endless sea, about numerous human beings in the Grace mainland that were killed. Yen was petrified. A massive, painful, and bitter shame overflowed from his soul, entering his brain and occupying all of his thoughts. He stood there emotionlessly, as if he had lost his soul. He didn't react to the provocation of that Ghostmark clan's warrior. It seemed something hard in his heart was fractured abruptly, pushing him into a big devil inner barrier that he couldn't restore his sound mind. It's related to you, but it isn't your responsibility. This is the trend of evolution. Without you, the space division would still happen. You just made it happen earlier. The other races have the right to live. Should they be expelled forever? Should their clans go extinct? The ice-cold flames thought sent to him from the blood vein ring. It was using its own way to console Yen. Yen was still absent-minded, as if he couldn't hear anything. You shouldn't let resentment nibble you. At this moment, you should use your best to save the situation. You have something you want to hold on. You have someone you want to protect. If you can't awake, things will never overturn. The ice-cold flame continued to comfort him. Yan's soul seemed to gather once again as he was restoring his consciousness. His dim eyes started to brighten. Well, just say I did it, he nodded to that member of the Ghostmark clan all of a sudden. I've dragged you guys out. If it's my mistake, I can put you back. Everything's fine then. Ha ha ha. The Ghostmark clan's warrior laughed crazily. What the heck are you? Only you. Well, do you think you can seal us again? A human kid with his spirit realm cultivation base dares to have this idea. Huh. Funny. You're funny. Well then, I don't need to ask you for the information bit by bit like this. Nothing's interesting anyways. Sure. Yen pondered for a while and then said, I remember your Ghostmark clan has a soul technique called the Great Soul Search Technique. The smile on that man's face froze, turning into a great panic as he shouted in fear. You dare! Sure. Yen shook his head and didn't answer him. He extended his arm, putting on that man's forehead, then closing his eyes. He sent his soul into that man's head. The Ghostmark clan's warrior was struggling hard, but he stopped right away. Like a clog, he didn't have any vitality anymore as his sea of consciousness was grabbed and squeezed. Changes of the divine great land during this year turned into the tide of memory and slowly emerged in Yan's brain fully. Chapter 609, Opportunity. Chapter 609, Opportunity. Not long after he had left the divine great land, the alien tribes with the Dark Spirit clan, the Ghostmark clan, and the Corpse clan as their representatives had carried out their invasion to the forces in the divine great land. Shortly, the 7 ancient factions, including the Radiant God cult, were targeted. The pagans' invasion this time was fierce, with the participation of many true God realm warriors. Yuan Hao and the leader of the Pure Land weren't their opponents. They had to cooperate to retreat. An earth-shaking, bloody war washed over the divine great land. Forces everywhere were attacked, and many high-class human warriors fell. The powers of the Dark Spirit clan, the Ghostmark clan, and the Corpse clan were imposingly beyond their estimation. Human warriors didn't know what to do. Their manpower was drained in battles as more and more warriors died every day. The dead souls, evil's lair of the Dark Spirit clan, appeared everywhere. They could land all of a sudden in a random area. Right after that, warriors of the Dark Spirit clan would appear. Their force had caused the 7 ancient factions a significant loss. The Ghostmark clan's members had soon recovered their energy. During the battles, the power of this clan slowly increased. After each battle, the power of the Ghostmark clan's members would be enhanced, as if it had no limit. The Corpse clan was more dangerous. They couldn't die. Their rigid bodies gave human warriors a headache, like their heads were about to crack. The 5-element space on the divine great land was the place the Corpse clan trained their bodies. It became their backyard, where they gathered, collected cultivating materials, and refining treasures. To human warriors, the five-element space was a dangerous area. With only one wrong move, they would never return. However, members of the Corpse Clan could stay in the five-element space at ease. With the abundant cultivating materials there, they could refine armors and treasures. This boosted their general force to another big level. After the Dark Spirit Clan, the Ghostmark Clan, and the Corpse Clan, there appeared the Demon Clan and the Monster Clan. The Divine Great Land now had more races. Compared to the Endless Sea, they were stronger and more brutal. True God Realm warriors of the alien tribes appeared one by one, which completely snatched away the confidence of Yun Hao's group. Massive retreat. The 7 ancient factions took the lead. Forces everywhere in the Divine Great Land started to gather and move towards the Martial Spirit Palace. They disappeared into the Martial Spirit Palace's territory. The alien tribes had searched through the Martial Spirit Palace's territory, but they couldn't find the warriors of the 7 ancient factions. However, many pagans had their bodies buried in this place. This kept the hotshots of the alien tribes from operating furthermore, and they didn't enter the area of the Martial Spirit Palace. The alien tribes were planning something. It seemed they were discussing a new plan to capture all the human hotshots at once. Sure, Yen closed his eyes, putting one hand on the head of that warrior. He was using the great searching soul technique of the Ghostmark Clan to search through the man's memory. When flows of memory entered his brain, the member of the Ghostmark Clan gradually lost his living aura as his life came to an end. The great searching soul technique was a sinister technique of the Ghostmark Clan. It burned the victim's soul to generate the energy to draw the memory out of the victim's head. After the soul was burned out, most of the victims would die, tragically. Some who survived would become retarded without memory. Retreating his hand, Shiryan took a deep breath and put a little force on that man. Bang! A flow of surging energy struck the pagan's head, as though it was stirring something, making his head a mess of brain and blood. Right after the spirit realm hotshot of the Ghostmark Clan died, energy threads started to fly out of his body. All these entered Yan's acupuncture points, leaving nothing behind. Yen was struck as if he had swallowed a pill. The light in his eyes got brighter, while his soul fluctuations became more robust. The development of the situation was beyond his imagination. He didn't think that the Divine Great Land's whole picture had become that fierce. He had thought that this place would be safer. However, after he got here, he came to know that the place was much more chaotic than the Endless Sea. Looking at the strange phenomenon where the sun, the moon, and the stars all appeared in the sky, Yen was sentimental. All things that happened were because of him. The existence of the massive space crack had led to the great change of the power in heaven and earth that awakened many alien tribes. This gave the strong power to the creatures that shouldn't exist in this world. The Dark Clan, the Dark Spirit Clan, the Demon Clan, the Monster Clan, and the Ghostmark Clan were the alien tribes that had disappeared for dozens of thousands of years. But now they had escaped the foreign lands and returned to the Divine Great Land. This was the additional brushstroke for this long-term calamity. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. Flows of light, smoke exuded from his acupuncture points. Under the effect of the negative moods, Yen became hot-tempered. He suddenly had the mood to destroy everything. Thump, thump, thump. His heartbeat increased. His anger was like a scorching flame burning in his body. It was raising vehemently from time to time. Not good. His face changed. Yen knew that if it continued this way, he would lose control again and fall into bedevilment. As a second sky of Spirit Realm warrior, he could easily receive the accumulated energy of the opponent with the condition that he had to keep his mind firm, and he must not let his spirit disorder. However, what that man said had stirred up the picture he didn't want to see. Thus he became more sensitive. When the negative mood arose, he hadn't prepared yet. The negative mood then flooded his mind directly, breaking his reason. Phew, phew, phew. Shi Yen panted heavily, and his face reddened. Sweat soaked him, with veins bulging out of his neck like some little worms. He looked terrible and fearsome. His muscles enlarged and shriveled from time to time. His body had a bizarre change. It looked like his change had stimulated the blood vein ring. The ring started to emit energy fluctuations, releasing a hazy red light, which was strange but beautiful. The energy in his acupuncture points wasn't controlled anymore. At first, it started to wreck his body. Gradually, it became more maniacal and couldn't be controlled. Afterward, it deluged to his arm towards the blood vein ring. The essence chi of his entire body blended with the soul that had reached the spirit realm, added with space power, shot out like an incomparable light. Light bloomed from the blood vein ring. Crack! Some firm barrier was shattered, turning into countless light spots, scattering everywhere. The space inside the blood vein ring expanded rapidly, and the spacious area was enlarged. Flows of memory turned into spiritual thoughts and started to imprint onto a deep place of his soul. Shi Yen was struck severely. The blood-like light appeared in his eyes. The brutal mood eventually calmed down, and the murderous aura of his body started to settle. He stood there, using his soul to sense the thoughts in his head. He flipped between the imprints in his soul to search. Found him. 3 spirit realm warriors of the Ghostmark clan stood outside the northern cold city, their appearance cold. They were holding a strange, magical silver ball, laughing out loud. Rays of light appeared densely like the willow catkin. They vaguely marked the location of the northern cold city. Kelly is dead, a man with countless portrayed lines on his face said. His aura was like that of a snake, cold and evil. Keller, no matter who the opponent is, we will capture him. We will take revenge for your brother, said a member of the Ghostmark clan firmly. The hotshot of the Ghostmark clan, called Keller, had the third sky of spirit realm cultivation base. He was really strong among the 3. He was like rigid ice in an extremely cold place, which gave people an annoying feeling. I want his soul to be tortured for thousands of years. Keller gritted his teeth, his face pale. Abruptly, he dashed towards the northern cold city. A wide sword made of extremely cold iron released a cold halo of metal while shooting out loudly, dragging a long light tail in the air, which was strangely beautiful. The extremely cold iron was the rare product of the Ghostmark clan's secret territory. Each block was more than 10,000 jin, carrying the cold and the yin chi of the iron, which could get into people's bones and marrows. This material was really intimidating. The broadsword flew in the air, and shortly it arrived above Shi Yen's head. Without giving time for Shi Yen to react, the broadsword slashed down directly, making a sharp whistle. Shi Yen was still sinking in some strange realm, and he looked like he was studying that realm. Hearing the whistle, Shi Yen instinctively swung his arms. Death and life seal. With the death intent domain as the foundation of energy, seals piled up in the air. The death intent domain expanded, covering his body. The sharp tip of the broadsword collided with the death and life seal. It tilted and couldn't slash down vertically. At this moment, Shi Yen suddenly opened his eyes and then snorted. The blood vein ring on his finger flashed, and the Sky Destroyer Divine sword emerged. He didn't give Keller more chances. Eyes on the Sky Destroyer opened one by one. By the time 1/3 of the eyes opened, a crazy, murderous aura bloomed out from Shi Yen as the core. The Sky Destroyer Divine sword had turned into a surging blood sea, which held an endless murderous aura, covering Keller's wide sword, which was made of the extremely cold iron. This blood sea washed the energy Keller had poured into the sword completely, courting death. The 2 members of the Ghostmark clan, who arrived together with Keller, couldn't hold their laughter. They then performed the secret technique of the Ghostmark clan. One was on the left, and the other was on the right. Their soul energies fused, creating a ghost hiss soul sword, thrusting towards Shi Yan's host soul. Get out! Shi Yan squinted, using his soul to call the inner world 5 devils. The 5 devils turned into 5 gray silhouettes and flew out from his sea of consciousness. Shortly, they caught that ghost hiss soul sword. The 5 devils used force, grasped the soul sword, and pulled it in 5 different directions. Shortly, the soul sword was divided into 5 pieces. The souls of Keller's team shuddered. They sprayed out blood at the same time. Apparently, they all got hurt. Well, the 3 of you, I couldn't ask for anything better. I will use your deaths to enter the new realm. Shi Yan felt the essence qi in his body was 1 grade lower than required. He sneered and then released the war devil. At the same time, he urged the negative energy. The ice-cold flame and the earth flame appeared on his shoulders, respectively, as he started his slaughter. He knew that after he killed these 3, he could use their essence qi to reach the 2nd sky of spirit realm. His soul's realm had crossed the bottleneck beforehand. Chapter 610 Bao Ao. Chapter 610 Bao Ao. Keller had the 3rd sky of spirit realm cultivation base, which ordinary warriors would find hard to deal with. Members of the Ghostmark clan had accumulated their attainment for dozens of thousands of years. They had a varied experience in fighting. The clansmen were innate fighters with magical martial spirits. At the same time, their understanding of soul Upanishads was more profound than the others. Keller's realm could subdue Shi Yan. According to common sense, it shouldn't have been so strenuous for him to kill Shi Yan. However, when he really did that, he got to know things were never as they seemed. When Shi Yan used the Rampage Realm's ability, his power would accelerate massively. His body, which was refined with the golden marrow of the giant, had become even more tenacious. At this moment, he was at the non-human monster level. His sturdy body, accompanied by the 9 serenities, soul-devouring flame, was more dangerous, especially with the magical recovery ability. Adding the unknown sword, his power was enough to provoke warriors at higher realms. Bang! The blood halo of the sky, destroyer divine sword flashed. The extremely cold iron broadsword Keller had flung away was blocked, deviated into a curved trajectory. Keller's soul trembled. He put forth everything to deal with the inner world 5 devils, and didn't have the extra force to enhance the power of the broadsword. When Keller wanted to retrieve the flying broadsword, he found it was too late. He could only keep his mind and spirit to prevent the 5 devils from eroding his soul. It's you who courts death. Don't blame me. Shi Yan wore a ruthless countenance. He asked the ice-cold flame and the earth flame to find the chance and kill him. At the moment he was sinking in that magical intent domain, he had some images carved into his head, his memory. However, they were scattered and disordered. If he couldn't reorder those images, he couldn't know what situation it was. Vaguely, he knew that if he could understand those images in his head, he could know the profile of the blood vein ring's previous owner. Those images didn't bring any technique or power, but a mournful aura of the old times. That aura stormed directly into his heart, which made his soul resonate altogether. Those images seemed to picture the most glorious experience of one's life. However, Keller's team had attacked him maliciously without saying a word, while Shi Yan hadn't had enough time to understand them thoroughly. From the radiant god cult to the wonderful stone city and the northern cold city, Shi Yan had observed many tragic scenes. Human bodies were everywhere in the cities. Many of them had a pathetic death, and Shi Yan couldn't endure the sight. Everything was because of the pagans. The massacre in the Spirit Treasure Sect's territory was created by the Ghostmark clan. At this moment, he had no good feeling or mercy towards the Ghostmark clan. He just wanted to kill them all. Kill him for me. Keller spat out blood while shouting, "Do not use soul power. This man's familiar with our clan's soul technique. The 5 devils are tough, too." As the 5 devils were entangling them, Keller and the other two couldn't endure. They had to spend a part of their power to deal with the inner world 5 devils. Shi Yan was emotionless, his eyes as cold as a saber. He held the sky, destroyer divine, sword while gazing at Keller. Shi Yan then performed the mysterious sword martial techniques. Beams of light shot out like meteors, swooshing over their heads like a raging storm. The war devil with its heavy armor was like a steel tank as it rumblingly crushed over, attacking the other two from Keller's team. The 2 Ghost Mark Clan's clansmen were struggling hard under the war devil's attacks. The mysterious soul techniques, they knew, had no effect on the war devil. Seizing the chance, the ice-cold flame and the earth flame discreetly took action. The freezing flame and the scorching halo flew out from the dark, hurting the other 2 instantly. At first, the ice-cold flame sealed them, while they felt the extremely cold temperature. Blazing light entangled them, intruding their body and burning their internal organs. The war devil barged in like a collapsing iron mountain while they were screaming painfully. Under this severe impact, their bones fractured right at the spot. 2 souls scattered. Shi Yan beamed a faint smile, throwing the soul-gathering pearl to capture those 2 souls. He turned to Keller and shouted, "Don't let him run away!" While he was shouting, his soul energy had turned into the simple space blades, attacking Keller's sea of consciousness. Each flow of his soul had been added with space power. Once he made an attack, it would turn into a simple space blade. Although it couldn't mince the opponent's sea of consciousness, it could steal the sensation of the opponent's sea of consciousness for a while. Keller's sea of consciousness was intruded. He seemed as if struck by the body fix technique, his eyes dull. The 3 attacking spears, War Devil, Ice Cold Flame, and Earth Flame took the chance and froze Keller's body instantly. Then, under the heavy pressure, Keller broke into countless pieces. The soul-gathering pearl took Keller's soul while his essence chi flew out, entering Shi Yan's body. Shi Yan was struck all of a sudden as he felt the surging energy was flooding his body. He assigned the war devil the ice-cold flame and the earth flame before sitting down cross-legged. He didn't bother with the location, just calmed down his mind to cultivate, refining the negative energy to produce the mysterious, strange power. During this process, the blurred images in his head became clearer, starting to flash in his head. His eyes were as bright as diamonds. He was condensing his energy while paying attention to the magical images in his head. He wanted to reorder those images to know what had happened after all. Thick, dark clouds from the horizon drifted in the sky of the northern cold city, covering the sun. A demonic dragon, which was more than hundreds of meters long, was meandering inside the dark clouds. This demonic dragon was covered with black scales that looked to be made of black iron. The dragon had a pair of curly horns with a massive, ominous aura. A man in his 30s was sitting upright on the head of the demonic dragon. He had long black hair draped over his shoulder and looked handsome in a gray robe. He was imposingly majestic. A strange triangle mark lied in the center of his forehead, shimmering with an evil, gloomy halo. It was like that middle-aged man riding the demonic dragon had passed the northern cold city by chance. His pair of dark eyes that didn't have any light squinted as he was looking ahead of him nonchalantly. All of a sudden, the demonic dragon roared rumblingly as it started to descend from 10,000 meters in the sky. The majestic man sitting on the demonic dragon's neck was surprised. He knitted his beautiful eyebrows and scooped down to observe the situation on the ground. At first glance, he saw the black iron war devil. Ah! The man was terrified and emotional. Astonishment flooded his deep pupils as he muttered to himself. Using the dark chi to quench the antiquity-time fighting puppet war devil is the technique that only the demon clan's precursors know. Strange! Have our clan's precursors come back from the foreign land? He mumbled, then let the demonic dragon hover in the sky so he could watch the situation down there. Behind the demonic dragon were thousands of demonic beasts of the demon area, lining up neatly. Each demonic beast carried a hotshot of the demon clan, who had at least the sky realm cultivation base. Among them, there were more than 10 warriors at the spirit realm and 2 more true god realm experts. The formation of the demonic beasts of the demon area maintained a distance from the demonic dragon that led them. When they found the demonic dragon had stopped, several thousand demonic beasts had halted silently behind it. A heavy pressure, like a mountain, diffused from the hotshots of the demon clan. Why has Master Bao Ao stopped here? Sitting on a dragon beast of the demon area was a tall and muscular scarred man. He was almost 3 meters tall, and a python wound around his waist. He had just spoken loudly to the others. As he had the black scale armor on his body, people could recognize that he was the member of the Black Scale clan. His aura was brutal and murderous. "Certainly, Master Bao Ao has found something," said an elegant woman. She was wearing male costumes, holding a pretty maid of the night charming race in her lap. They were riding a level 8, 7-headed black brilliance bird. She laughed and then talked to the muscular man next to her. "Good to see. Later on, when we arrive at the Ghostmark clan, if you see the young girls of the Ghostmark clan, help me ask if they sell them, okay?" While the woman was talking, a thorny tail extended under her long white dress. "Bo Rua, we come to the Ghostmark clan to discuss how to uproot the humans." The muscular man of the Black Scale clan was called Gudasi. Scars on his face twisted like a bunch of worms as he grinned fiendishly. "Young maids of the human race have the softest body. They aren't as rough as our demon clan. I love them the most." "You're disgusting." Borua glared at him begrudgingly. "You butcher. You're wasting the world's treasures. If you see them, remember to let me taste first. Once I'm done with them, you can eat them." "You are disgusting." Gudasi snorted, his face disdainful. "Well, the women you've touched are so dirty. If anyone eats them, he will puke out for the rest of his life. Get lost." Borua's voice was like an arrow shooting towards Gudasi. "Mother asterisk cur. Here she goes again." The tall man shouted indignantly. He jolted up to counter the attack, rubbing his fists and jumping up. Black scales rose on his body, making the sound like the wind blowing through pine tree forest, which had stirred up the energy of heaven and earth. More than 10 experts at the spirit realm stayed behind them. They were sitting neatly with a serious countenance. They seemed not to bother with the fight in front of them, but the beasts they rode were moving away discreetly, as if they were afraid of getting involved. In the front of the formation, the handsome middle-aged man was standing on the 100-meter-long dragon, looking at the northern cold city under his feet. His gloomy pupils gradually rested on Shuriyen. A tiny beam of surprise sparkled deep inside his pupils. He looked at the 5 gray shadows, couldn't help but hold his forehead and groan. He let out a light shout as if he were insane. The one who controls the 5 great negative emotions, the Antiquity Demogorgon. Damn it, what's going on? Bao Aog, that kid has space power in his sea of consciousness. The demonic dragon sent him its thought. Space power. The middle-aged man was startled. Then he revealed his astonishment. Is it the great change that has divided spaces is because of this kid? Suddenly the man laughed out loud. Interesting. I didn't expect to see the ringleader this time. It's interesting indeed. Then he jumped off the demonic dragon, deliberately walking in the void towards the man in the corner of the northern cold city with a smiling face. Chapter 611, The Ancient Bao Family. Chapter 611, The Ancient Bao Family. Shuriyen sat emotionlessly as magical and mysterious images crossed his head as fast as lightning. Most of them were about the great fierce wars. During the wars, Shi Yan saw the ancient clans, including the Dark Spirit Clan, the Ghostmark Clan, and the Giant Clan. Members of these alien clans projected in the images all had earth-shaking power. They could smash an entire mountain with only one strike, leaving a 100-meter-deep ditch on the ground. However, those images weren't continual. It was hard to reorder them precisely. In his head, every image came with the unceasingly rumbling thunder. Closing his eyes, Shi Yan tried to arrange some images, but he found that it was too difficult to do that. He couldn't restore their original sequence. During this process, it seemed some seal had been unlocked in this world. Some scattered memoirs in heaven and earth had turned into flows of ancient soul fluctuation, pouring in him. Gradually, a vague mark had formed at his glabella. 5 pentagonal blood clouds appeared. The 5 clusters of blood-red cloud were like an ancient mark or some family crest imprinted at his glabella. Blood halo bloomed gloriously, giving people a feeling of something both beautiful and savage. He didn't know what was happening to him. Shi Yan still sat neatly on the ground as he was watching some magical images detaching from his head and poured into the mark. After receiving some images, the ancient mark got clearer and more complete. This gave him a new, strange aura. A middle-aged man walked toward him with hands clasping behind his back. He stopped around 100 meters away from Shi Yan, smiling until his eyes squinted. The war devil suddenly reacted. From deep inside its empty pear, a black, evil light shot out, furious as if it could swallow the bright light. The 5 gray shadows that were winding around him all reacted. They buzzed, sending their soul fluctuations as they were anxious, placing their attention on that middle-aged man. That strange middle-aged man also had a triangle mark on his forehead, which became clearer at this moment. Ha ha. Interesting indeed, so interesting. Bao Ao mumbled to himself. The smile on his face became warmer. He felt happier and even more excited, rubbing his hands like a child seeing the toy he had been yearning for. The middle-aged man couldn't control his joy. The ice-cold flame and the earth flame flew on Shi Yan's left and right shoulders. Their flames were flickering indefinitely. They couldn't relax. 3 fierce flows of soul fluctuation stormed into the deep place inside Shi Yan's soul. His host's soul trembled violently, then woke up. Some magical images in his head flew and merged into the strange blood cloud on his glabella. He couldn't reorder them, so he felt a little bit regret. He didn't know he had a mysterious mark on his forehead now. Sinking in the loss, he shook his head, then opened his eyes, shouting using his soul. What are you doing? The inner world 5 devils, the earth flame, and the ice-cold flame sent him their thoughts rapidly together with alarming fluctuation. Shi Yan shuddered. He utterly woke up now. His pupils shrank as his aura bloomed out fiercely. He glared at the middle-aged man standing opposite to him. Pores in his entire body opened. Flows of negative energy that looked like real pallid tentacles emerged from his pores and acupuncture points. Shi Yan seemed to turn into a strange demon with many pale tentacles covering his body. Each tentacle was around 2 meters long, with a brutal negative energy. They were moving like octopus tentacles around him. He immediately knew that his negative energy had condensed to the ultimate level, turning from the air form to a more solid form. His power was increasing robustly. Each tentacle connected to one of his acupuncture points. 720 tentacles were spreading all over his body, which gave him a magical feeling. It seemed these tentacles were parts of his body, carrying the strange, mysterious power. This was the performance of the Rampage Upanishads, which had promoted the negative energy of his entire body. When he calmed down his mind, the tentacles shrank and retreated into his acupuncture points, returning to the pure negative energy. At the same time, the sea of consciousness in his brain was shaken. Shi Yen sensed and found that his essence Qi ancient tree had grown twice. His eyes sparkled. Abruptly, he knew that he had entered the second sky of spirit realm from the first sky of spirit realm unknowingly. His sea of consciousness expanded, and his soul was finer. Together with his mind and spirit, they had a magical union. His flesh and blood also had a mighty strength. Level up. Congratulations, little brother, Bao Ao smiled quietly. He strolled toward Shi Yen without caring about the gaze of the war devil, the ice-cold flame, and the earth flame. He looked quite casual and at ease. Shi Yen felt tense. The Sky Destroyer Divine sword emerged from thin air and gradually appeared in his palm. Who are you? Sure, Yen couldn't sense any kind of energy from that man. At the second sky of spirit realm, Shi Yan's soul consciousness couldn't sense the aura of the other. In his cognition, the man standing in front of him seemed not to exist. He had experienced this feeling when facing Yun Hao. He immediately knew that the one standing opposite to him was in existence at Yun Hao's level. He was even more dangerous than Yun Hao. Who am I? Bao Ao burst out laughing. He shook his head and then said, Seems you little brother hasn't received the inheritance yet. Yeah, we aren't hurried. Just take your time. Little brother, you will receive more memory seals. At that time, you can try to sense the wonderful connection between you and me. Shi Yen was stunned. He had no clue. He realized that he didn't understand the words that came out of the other's mouth. It seemed the other had known about him, but he couldn't sense that man's realm or anything else. Seeing Bao Ao walking towards him, Shi Yen tried his best to adjust the aura. Flows of pure essence, Qi grumblingly, overflowed the Sky Destroyer Divine sword in his hand. Don't be tense. I mean no harm. Bao Ao threw his arms into the air and laughed. His voice was soft that could comfort people. If I had bad intentions, well, even if there were 100 of you here, all of you would be dead. Shi Yen discolored. Well, I told you not to be tense. See, you're getting tense again, laughed Bao Ao. While he was talking, he arrived in front of Shi Yen. The man stopped while his deep dark eyes were scanning Shi Yen. He nodded and then smiled. I was just passing by and saw you were breaking through your realm. I was suddenly interested in it, so I came to see. I don't have other intentions. Shi Yen didn't answer. He was trying to guess the other's identity. Warriors who had this realm weren't someone not famous in the divine great land. Perhaps he had the same realm as Yun Hao. Was he the master of the martial spirit palace, perhaps? The master of the spirit treasure sect? Little brother, this one is for you. Later on, if you can't live with humans anymore, come to me. Bao Ao patted his head as if he had just recalled something. His slender index finger touched his forehead. The strange triangle mark suddenly glowed, as a dark gold token flew out from his mark. That small token wasn't made of gold or jade. It was a whole intact plaque covered in ancient symbols. The simple curves on the token interlinked, giving people a strange but evil feeling. That small token had a triangular shape, similar to the mark on that man's forehead. However, it was a real token. This token looked like it had a life. It didn't wait for Shi Yen to receive it, moving directly to his forehead. However, that small token trembled as if it were wiped away right before it could touch the mark on Shi Yan's glabella. The smile on Bao Ao's face widened as if he had predicted the event before. He laughed and then touched the small token in the air. Afterward, the token quit entering the mark on Shi Yan's forehead, but stuck on his neck just like a leech clutching on the skin under his right ear. A triangle mark glowed, sparkling along with Shi Yan's changing energy. When Shi Yan gathered himself together again and didn't urge his power, the mark dimmed and faded out, as though it had sunk into his skin. A cold feeling of cold jade spread from his neck. Shi Yan discolored. He was more frightened. What have you done to me? Sure, Yen released his soul consciousness to sense. Right when he touched the token, the energy in the token had stirred it up. Sure, Yen couldn't see the situation inside the small token or what kind of restraint it was. Sure, Yen was distraught. A token was integrated into his body. He felt that he was enslaved already. This feeling irritated him a lot. However, he didn't dare to provoke the other, even though that middle-aged man didn't reveal any dangerous intention. Shi Yan had a premonition that if that man wanted his life, he couldn't do anything to resist. Bao Ao laughed while watching his reaction. It seemed he found it interesting to watch Shi Yan in panic. Don't be scared. Haha, I just want good things for you. You'll get it later. Bao Ao contemplated for a while and then pointed at Shi Yan's forehead, reminding him, be careful. You'd better not let anyone else see this mark, especially the human experts. Haha, or else you will become the common enemy of the entire humanity. Yeah, that's it. You should deal with it. If you can't live with humans anymore, remember to find me. I am Bao Ao. If you want to find me, you just need to put your sole thought into that token. I'll get it immediately. Bao Ao smiled, waving his hand frankly. Do your best. After that, Bao Ao slowly ascended into the air. Under Shi Yan's attentive look, he walked towards the demonic dragon, hovering thousands of meters in the void. Humanity! Shi Yan was suddenly struck with fear. He shouted, Are you pagan? I'm from the demon clan. Bao Ao from the ancient Bao family. Each family with the name ancient has at least 100,000 years of inheritance. Bao Ao beamed a faint smile as he sat on the demonic dragon and left with a big laughter. When Bao Ao started to move, all the terrifying demonic beasts of the demon area behind him slowly appeared from the clouds. This great formation was moving towards the shady firmament old mound. Shi Yan could vaguely see the fearful hotshots with different appearance of the demon clan riding those giant demonic beasts. They were all looking at him with astonishment. Shi Yan was stupefied like a wooden rooster, his body cold. Chapter 612 Ancient Mark. Chapter 612 Ancient Mark. After Bao Ao had left the northern cold city and got back to his dragon, the two true God realm experts of the demon clan Gudasi and Bao Ru walked to him with suspicions. Master Bao Ao, who is that kid? He's just a human. Why didn't you kill him? Gudasi felt puzzled. Bao Rua's beautiful eyes sparkled. Haha, he has the bloodline of our demon clan. He's the one who has received the inheritance of the oldest family in our demon clan. Bao Ao beamed a faint smile. That kid's really interesting. When he grows up, he'll be really dangerous. If his inheritance awakens, human beings won't receive him anymore. Sooner or later, he will belong to our side. Why did he have the oldest inheritance of the demonic clan? Gudasi was surprised. Members of the human clan have their blood mixed with many other clans. This isn't a surprise. Bao Ao was patient to explain. If it weren't because of that, this race wouldn't have occupied this continent for so many years. The bloodline of the human clan is the worst. But this clan has the ability to adapt well to other races. Their bloodline can blend with almost every other race. Through this kind of breeding, this race could develop further. Isn't it our purpose to kill them all? Bo Rua chuckled. Even if their bloodline is mixed, their power is still much less than ours. Many martial techniques and power Upanishads are lost. Don't underestimate them. Bao Ao was serious, his face grim. In the war that year, if we hadn't underestimated them, we wouldn't have had such a great defeat. This race has a tremendous adaptive faculty. As long as we give them time to cultivate, they can burst out their energy, which can terrify everybody. Gudasi and Bo Rua listened to him, but their faces were still disdainful. Apparently, they didn't keep Bao Ao's words in their minds. Bao Ao sighed in his heart not wanting to talk more. He also knew that the human clan was weaker. Otherwise, they couldn't be swept away shortly like that. Now they could only try to retreat their heads and hold the last breath. Let's go. We should get to the shady firmament old mound first. We need to check if we can bring more members out of there. It's been so many years. Actually, the survivors of our clan aren't many. We just have to try our best. Gudasi and Barua were also emotional. They didn't talk more and just continued their journey. Shi Yen looked at the herd of demon areas, demonic beasts gliding above his head. He felt as cold as ice. The power this clan showed off at this moment was enough to destroy any of the 7 ancient factions in the divine Great Land. Even if the Radiant God cult and the Pure Land joined hands, being destroyed was their only final result. The real competence of the demon clan shouldn't be that simple. Besides the demon clan, the divine Great Land now had the Ghostmark clan, the Dark Spirit clan, the Corpse clan, the Dark clan, and the Monster clan. It wasn't easy for them to survive until this moment. Once they could fully restore their power, it wasn't something the human clan could resist. Shi Yen suddenly had the premonition that the humanity's apocalypse was about to come. Touching the mark on his neck, Shi Yen felt distressed. He couldn't erase it. He had unknowingly received a mark on his body, which gave him an irritated feeling, making him nervous. He didn't know whether the man called Bao Ao could lock him in some corner using this mark, or if he could bring him to death at any minute. It was like a person who had gotten the seed of death in his body. When his opponent wanted him to die, he just needed to flicker his thought, and Shi Yen would die a tragic death. As he was restrained, a devil barrier would arise in his heart, which would affect his cultivation later. This could always scare his spirit and mind, and his level-up process would be hindered from now on. The cold energy moved in his palm as an ice mirror emerged. Glaring at the mirror, he immediately saw the blood could mark on his glabella. The mark was shimmering with blood halo, giving him a brutal, bloody aura. This was an ancient mark, the mark that only the oldest family of the demon clan could have. The mark was the sign that someone belonged to a family. Through this mark, they could receive the inheritance of the family. He didn't need anybody to remind him to know that the blood vein ring and his transformation in the blood pond related to a strong expert of the ancient demon clan in the antiquity time. I must erase this mark. He took a deep breath, then sit down neatly, trying to use different methods to wipe out the mark at his glabella. After a long time, he quit helplessly. That mark had become part of his soul. No matter what he did, he couldn't wipe it away. He had even cut off the skin on his forehead. When the immortal martial spirit restored his skin, the mark was still there visibly. He had tried continually, and he understood that this mark wouldn't fade away shortly. Begrudgingly, he could only wear a black band on his head to cover the mark. The ancient mark brought the inheritance of an ancient family of the demon clan. This meant he was half demon. All of a sudden, he felt puzzled, not knowing where he was heading. He was hesitant and didn't know whether he should go to the martial spirit palace or not. Shi Yen frowned, thinking about his family and friends in the Shi family and the Yang family. Everything he had experienced flashed once again in his head. Shi Jian, who had always protected him, the Yang family's hope, and Xia Xianyan. Gradually his eyes became determined. His uneasy spirit was calibrated as he adjusted his direction one more time. Leaving the mark on his neck aside, Shi Yen pondered and restarted his journey, walking towards the martial spirit palace. However, he was more careful, as he intended to avoid the areas where the pagans could gather. His journey was safe this time. 10 days had passed as fast as lightning. Finally, Shi Yen arrived at the martial spirit palace's territory. Similar to the Radiant God cult and the Spirit Treasure sect, the martial spirit palace's land was filled with the heavy pressure of death. Many civil kingdoms had depended on the martial spirit palace. Now their cities were all empty. Shi Yan released his soul consciousness to check, but he couldn't detect any living fluctuations. However, he was glad that he didn't see many terrifying scenes in the territory of the martial spirit palace. As he had watched so many tragic scenes, he couldn't help but curse. As the martial spirit palace had soon prepared, they had gathered the members of human clan everywhere in the entire territory and hid in some corner to survive. After 2 days, he arrived at the famous Perpetual Night Forest of the Divine Great Land. The Perpetual Night Forest was situated in the martial spirit palaces. Big trees towered the ground, some of them as big as a mountain, which had been growing for 10,000 years. The reason why this forest was called Perpetual Night was because of the dense ancient trees here. Their branches were too thick, so they blocked the sunlight from the sky. This forest didn't receive the sunlight year-round, and it always looked as dark as night. Currently, the sun, moon, and stars had all appeared in the sky of the divine great land, and there was no night anymore. Regions in the continent were always illuminated. Only the Perpetual Night Forest remained in its original state. All the natural light was blocked. Even the sun and the moon in the sky couldn't fill this forest with light. Walking through the Perpetual Night Forest and looking at the thick leaves and branches in above his head, Shi Yan got to know the meaning of the forest name. Indeed, there was no light in this forest. The entire place was gloomy. Only some tiny beams of strong sunlight could reach the ground, but it was very scarce. In this wet and dark forest, there were many translucent streams and lakes. Fishes there looked fat and delicious. Also, the air in the forest was fresh, which could reinvigorate people. In his knowledge, the Perpetual Night Forest was the largest area in the martial spirit palace's territory. It was situated on an area of millions of miles squared. It would take years to cross through this forest. Many mysteries hid inside this forest. People could see the ruins of ancient temples and graves here and there in the forest. Many experts who decided to have a secluded life had chosen to stay in the Perpetual Night Forest, which had abundant, cultivating materials' spiritual aura. Living in this forest, they didn't need to worry about the cultivating materials. After 1 day and 1 night of walking in the Perpetual Night Forest, Shi Yan hadn't sensed any aura of living creatures. He hadn't met any human or beast. A forest should have a vibrant atmosphere, but the ambience here was heavy, which made people feel uncomfortable. All of a sudden, he smelled the scent of blood. As his thought flickered, his body moved swiftly like an electric current. Instantly, he had crossed 1,000 meters forward and then halted by a pool. The pool wasn't big, towered by many 100-meter-tall ancient trees. Dead bodies scattered around the pool. The clean pool water was now dyed red by the blood. Shi Yan's face became cold and dark. The dead bodies by the pool were the members of the Demonic Sound clan and the Winged clan. These 2 clans had submitted to him, deeming him their master. At least 100 pagans were slaughtered. Moreover, their bodies were torn into pieces. The opponent's action was savagely brutal. He suddenly recalled something terrible. How had the Demonic Sound clan and the Winged clan been? Returning to the past, perhaps the Demonic Sound clan and the Winged clan had been in the divine Great Land. However, after the great change of heaven and earth, alien races had depended on the Ghostmark clan, the Dark Spirit clan, and the Demon clan to slaughter humans. Wherever they went through, they left people in miseries. Human clan should be filled with resentment. The Demonic Sound clan and the Winged clan should be safe if they went with the other alien tribes. However, they were with the Yang family. Members of the Yang family had used the teleportation formation to go to the northern Gem Mountain in the Radiant God cult. Had Yin Hao, the master of the Radiant God cult, accepted them? At the moment the alien tribes were massacring humans, would the Demonic Sound clan and the Winged clan be the targets to vent out their anger? Although Yin Hao could give him face to not attack them, how about the others? Would the Pure Land, the Spirit Treasure Sect, and the Martial Spirit Palace leave them alone? The Demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan had become the pagans that could join any side. In the eyes of the alien clans, they were betrayers. To humanity, they were the aliens who deserved death. Arriving at this thought, Shi Yen felt chilled. He could almost confirm that the Demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan on his side had become the most pathetic force in the divine Great Land. Both the alien tribes and the mankind would aim at them. His face darkened. He pressed down the worries in his heart and continued to move through the perpetual night forest. It had been 3 days, and he had met many places where dead bodies piled up. Without a single exception, they were all the members of the Demonic Sound Clan and the Winged Clan. Dishan and Etian-Mo should have met a big purge. Perhaps even Dishan and Etian-Mo got killed. The realm of Dishan's group wasn't bad in the Endless Sea, but in this divine Great Land, compared to the true God realm experts like Yin Hao, they were nothing. Shi Yan's face became darker. He couldn't wash away the shame in his heart. This was the first time he had the thought of being responsible for a race. He had to save them. Chapter 613, Blood Animosity. Chapter 613, Blood Animosity. The Perpetual Night Forest was a spacious area several million miles squared. This place was shady year-round. Demonic beasts swaggered here and there. After several days of walking in the forest, Shi Yen found more dead bodies of the Dark Devil Clan and the Winged Clan. Moreover, he saw many signs of deaths, which belonged to the Yang family's warriors. Along the way, his heart sank deeper as he suffered a big sorrow. Shi Yen had thought that he didn't need to care about the great change of the Grace mainland, and he just needed to protect his family, saving them from harm. But now he knew how funny his idea was. The whole continent was sinking in a great tsunami. Pagans were slaughtering and robbing everywhere. Who was lucky enough to escape this calamity? All of a sudden, he felt a strong soul fluctuation in his sea of consciousness. Shi Yen accelerated, dashing at his max speed toward the east. Boom! His energy exploded everywhere. On his way, all the flora was crushed. Level 3 and Level 4 demonic beasts along his way scattered disorderly when they sensed his intimidating aura. Shi Yen halted. 3 Level 7 demonic beasts were surrounding 10 members of the Dark Devil Clan by a swamp. The leader of this group had only the 3rd sky of Nirvana realm. He was wounded badly. Blood was gushing out from one of his arms. The 3 Level 7 beasts included a 1-horned rhino, a jasper spider, and an 8-legged blue blood frog. They all had intellect with quick moves. This group of 10 clansmen of the Dark Devil Clan couldn't resist anymore, obviously. If no one helped them, they would perish soon. Imu paled, looking at his fellows falling one by one. Hatred overflowed his heart. He regretted that his competence wasn't enough to take revenge for his fellows. Looking at the dismembered bodies, he was about to get crazy. The jasper spider looked like a round object. Its legs sparkled with a cold, blue light. Every time they stomped on the ground, they dug a deep hole. The jasper spider was like an experienced hunter. It wasn't hurried as it was slowly weaving a web. This arachnid wanted to capture Imu's group alive and then eat their brains little by little. This beast was smart. It knew that the human brain tasted best when they were alive, so it didn't rush. First, it would drain Imu's group. Then it could slowly enjoy the fine food. When the energy of heaven and earth changed, demonic beasts in the Grace mainland seemed to gain intellect as well. The genuine beasts were now all cunning. Apparently, they formed the so-called Monster Clan. When the beasts reached level 7, not only their wisdom increased, but they also gained some magical, cultivating techniques of the Monster Clan. This would enhance their power on a massive scale. Vaguely, they had become the official members of the Monster Clan. Swoosh! Sher Yan's figure halted in between the three beasts while a murderous aura diffused from him. Demonic beasts at level 7 all had wisdom. They showed that they were scared of Sher Yan's imposing aura when they just sensed it. The beasts retreated quickly. Wee-hoo-ho! These beasts had used the strange whistling to communicate. 3 beasts scattered, moving to 3 different directions as they wanted to flee away from this man as far as possible. Young Master Yen. Imu's eyes seemed to rupture, sparkling with a strange light as he couldn't help but shout. This man was Tian Mo's nephew, so he had met Sher Yan several times. At the most critical time, he almost burst into tears on seeing Sher Yan. Sher Yan's countenance was cold. He didn't say anything. His mind flickered as he released the War Devil, assigning it to kill. The War Devil was like a steel and iron war chariot, barging rumblingly and moving directly towards the Jasper Spider. The web the Jasper Spider had weaved was smashed. The War Devil wildly stomped his 10,000 June foot on the Jasper Spider. Its heavy foot pierced through the spider. The War Devil turned around, dashing towards the other 2 beasts. Sure, Yen didn't watch the battle. He came to EMO, who was bleeding badly, took out a jade bottle and gave it to him. Swallow them. 3 pills for each of you. Sit down and restore yourself now. It was the great original chi pellet he had exchanged in the Spirit Potion Valley. It was considered a rare spiritual medicine in the divine Great Land to nurture the body and restore the warrior's spirit, mind, and soul. Tears lingered in Imu's eyes. He didn't talk more, nodded, and swallowed 3 pills. Then, he handed the remaining pills to the other fellows. 13 members of the Dark Devil clan received 3 pills each. As Sher Yan had advised them, they sat down and started to adjust their bodies to recover their wounds. Sher Yan watched here and there. He found 5 bodies of the Dark Devil clan around 1,000 meters away from them. All were ripped apart and headless. The beasts must have eaten them. Sure, Yen sighed in his heart, his face sad. He knew he was 1 step late. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of the War Devils stomping arose not far from them. After 10 seconds, that noise stopped. Sure, Yen knew the other 2 beasts were killed. Shortly, the War Devil came back. Its armor covered its steel body perfectly without a blood stain. The War Devil stopped next to him. There was no light in its empty eyes, as though it was a dead thing. Sher Yan also stood stupefied, waiting in silence while his heart was chilled. After 1 hour, Imu had restored. He was the first one to wake up. He kneeled down in front of Sher Yan, choking with sobs. There are not more than 1/3 folks left in our clan. It's the same with the Winged clan. Since we've come to the divine Great Land, we have always been running. We hide everywhere. We just want to survive. Sher Yan's face was furious. He gritted his teeth and nodded. After all, what's happened? Where are Tianmo and the others? Our general and the others are also in the perpetual night forest. They are hiding. At this moment, they have cut the soul connection using a barrier to prevent stealth operation. Tears rolled down Imu's face, his eyes bloodshot. The number of our members who died in the hands of the 7 ancient factions is more than the number that the beasts have killed. Young Master Yen, you have to take revenge for us. 7 ancient factions. A drop of dark red blood trickled from the corner of Sher Yan's mouth, as if it was the tear of the devil in hell. He thundered, "What's happened after all?" When we had just arrived in the divine Great Land, the Radiant God cult treated us not too badly. The cult master had come to the northern Gem Mountain to feast with the Yang family's head. However, not long after that, the alien tribes started their invasion. They massacred in every corner of the divine Great Land. Imu was on his knees as he explained with a resentful tone. The 7 ancient factions couldn't resist the savage attack. They joined hands and moved to the general direction of the martial Spirit Palace. We heard that the Martial Spirit Palace had a secret domain that they could get in and hide away from the pagan slaughter. At that time, we went with the disciples of the Radiant God cult. But when we arrived in the Martial Spirit Palace's territory, meeting up with the other factions of the 7 ancient factions, everything changed. Except for the Radiant God cult, the other 6 factions wanted to kill us all when they saw the Winged Clan and our clan. Master Yin, Hao of the Radiant God cult, couldn't stop that. He couldn't help but let us detach from their formation. We had no choice but to come to the Perpetual Night forest to hide. Not long afterward, the other factions started to ambush and kill us. There are level 9 demonic beasts here. The other beasts also have intellect. They know how to besiege and kill us. In this place, both the beasts and humanity want to kill us. It's just been half a year, and we have already borne a significant loss. Where is the Yang family? Did they go with you guys? Shi Yan's countenance changed, asking coldly. They're here too. Tears filled Emo's face. The Yang family's head is a good man. Right at the beginning, he had tried to protect us. Unfortunately, the Yang head isn't so strong in the divine Great Land. Currently, the Yang family stays with us in this perpetual night forest. But the 3 God sect and the Xia family who had come to the divine Great Land with us have officially become the members of the 7 ancient factions. When the secret domain opened, the head of the Yangs refused to go there. He brought a part of the Yang family and the Shi family to go with our clan and the Winged Clan. Sai, the head of the Yang family, seems unable to endure it anymore. Many human hotshots who used to listen to the head of the Yangs wanted to kill us so that they could become an ally of the 7 ancient factions. Begrudgingly, the Yang family and we had to separate. We stay in 2 different places in the perpetual night forest to avoid unwanted events. Emu was sorrowful, telling Shi Yan the events they had been through since they had arrived in the divine Great Land. After he had finished narrating, Shi Yan's aura burst out. With a ruthless face, he said gloomily, "So that's how it is." Shi Yan wasn't so surprised. Since he had found the dead bodies of the Dark Devil Clan and the Winged Clan, he could guess the situation. However, when he heard the stories from Emu, he still got enraged. Now, are they alive? Are any one of them, the leaders, dead? Trying to press down his anger, Shi Yan took several deep breaths to calm himself. He was anxious that the result he was about to hear could make him crazy. Yimeng, General Yimeng, is dead. One of the Shura kings of the Yang family is dead too. His name was Li Mu. Besides them, some other strong experts were killed, sobbed Emu. Shi Yan's face became more ruthless and darker. Who killed them? The Heaven Temple's disciple had killed Yimeng. Li Mu died in the hands of an elder of the Pure Land. Among the 7 ancient factions, besides Master Yin Hao of the Radiant God cult, the other leaders don't ban their disciples from killing us. Oh, yeah, there's a small force called the Ice Emperor City. During the battle, they always showed mercy. They helped many members of us survive, explained Emu. Shi Yan was surprised. He had never expected that the 4 women of the Ice Emperor would help him at the most critical moment when humans hated the alien tribes a lot. It wasn't easy for them to do so. His chilled heart got warmer a little bit when he heard this story. Chapter 614, Change. Chapter 614, Change. Shady Firmament, Old Mound. After 1 year, under the construction of the Ghostmark clan, the vast area of countless gloomy graveyards became more colorful. A subterranean place should be dark and wet, but this area had many beautiful, exquisite buildings and palaces. These structures were covered with strange, evil symbols, which seemed like crawling worms. These arrays were mysterious and complicated. Those buildings weren't exceptionally tall. The tallest one was around dozens of meters tall at the most. However, they were made of a strange material that looked like cold, black iron, giving people a cold and sinister feeling. These buildings were arranged as if they followed some meaning in the world, which would give them some magical effects. Far from the buildings and palaces, there laid ruins of tombs. It seemed the barriers in those tombs had been removed. There was no energy fluctuation anymore. The two sages of the Ghostmark clan were standing on a sacrificial altar where thick, mysterious chi hovered. They were performing an ancient ritual to offer sacrifice. Thousands of dead human bodies laid around the altar. Yin chi was moving everywhere. Flows of gray energy in air form exuded from the human corpses, pouring into the sacrificial altar. There was a sharp, snow-white thorny pole on the altar. The tip of the thorn radiated dazzlingly, releasing evil cold chi as if it were connecting something. Not far from there, Bao Ao and the group of the demon clan's experts were standing and watching the event. They were looking attentively towards the sacrificial altar. Among the great alien tribes, the Ghostmark clan had the most profound understanding of soul power. The altar they had built had the same function. It could cross space and collect the souls from the foreign lands, or make a connection with the outer areas. The two sages of the Ghostmark clan had waited until the mysterious chi thickly gathering around the altar reached a certain degree to throw the written charm scripture out, using it as the fountain of power to activate the sacrificial altar. A flow of gloomy gray mist exuded from the altar. Precious gems sparkled in the mist, reflecting strange and evil rays. Clouds with the shape of souls gradually condensed in the mist. They couldn't see the real appearance, but the basic shapes. Anyway, it was enough to tell what creatures they were. Soul-shaped clouds changed mysteriously. Shortly, they floated from the altar to hundreds of meters high in the sky, as feeble soul fluctuations flowed out. The three experts of the demon clan, Bao Ao, Borua, and Gudasi, watched those drifting clouds, their faces happy. They hurried to use their souls to capture them. As they were all true God realm warriors, and their God soul had been created, when they flickered their souls, the fierce soul fluctuations were too much to bear. Most of the clansmen of the Ghostmark clan couldn't endure, so they had to back off. Soul fluctuations expanding in the void became more powerful. Those drifting soul-shaped clouds were moving back and forth, gradually making a marvelous connection with the god souls of Bao Ao's group of three. Bao Ao and the other two sat down neatly, closing their eyes. They didn't say anything. It seemed they were using the god soul to communicate. The two sages of the Ghostmark clan, who were controlling the sacrificial altar, looked tense and anxious. The ash-gray energy from the human corpses was drained quickly. Around 1 hour later, the gray energy had run out completely. The two sages of the Ghostmark clan watched the situation. They didn't hesitate taking back the written charm scripture. The robust power pouring into the altar was retrieved. Bao Ao's team was sensing with their eyes closed. Abruptly, they awakened, their countenance annoyed. Master Bao Ao, it isn't that we didn't want to help you. Honestly, we didn't have enough energy, Comoros, the sage of the Ghostmark clan, smiled begrudgingly as he was rubbing his hands continually. If you can find the souls of third sky of spirit realm warriors to be the sacrifice, this altar can last longer. At this moment, we can't do more. When Bao Ao faced Shuryen, his temperament like warm weather. But at this moment, when he was talking to Comoros, a second sky of true God realm, he was sinister and brutal. His eyes seemed to contain endless wicked intents. Comoros, the price we've paid isn't small. That's how you get things done? Comoros beamed a forced smile, continually begging. Master Bao Ao, please give us more time. In 3 months max, we will satisfy you. 3 months later, our sacrificial altar could help you guys and the antiquity Demogorgon form a soul connection. Bao Ao's pupil shrank, and he kept silent for a while. Comoros smiled miserably, continually assuring him, 1 month. We'll give you only 1 month. Bao Ao's brutal aura ceased. He became as calm as a tranquil stream. 1 month later, if you can't satisfy us, the agreement we have will be null and void. At that time, you should spit out what we've given you. Understand? Comoros nodded continuously, not daring to explain more, as he agreed immediately. All right. 1 month. 1 month later, I'm sure you can form the soul connection with the antiquity Demogorgon. Good. Bao Ao laughed contentedly. He stood up and said faintly, I've wasted a lot of time. So don't test my limit. Remember, you have only 1 month. Don't worry. Right after you leave, I'm going to the Martial Spirit Palace's area. Comoros patted his chest affirmatively. Bao Ao nodded approvingly. Oh, yeah, the kid named Shurian you've met. I want to keep him for a reason. If you meet him, don't touch him. Or else, don't blame me for being impolite. A human, frowned Comoros. Yeah. Although I don't know what Master Bao Ao keeps him for, as you've advised, I will follow you. I'm waiting for your good news. Bao Ao took Borua and Gudasi, then left. After they had got out of the shady firmament old mound to the bleak plain, Bao Ao knitted his brows and talked to Borua and Gudasi. You guys go to the Endless Sea, the 3rd demon area, and the 4th demon area. I think our fellows there have gotten out too. You guys get there and gather them, as our 2nd demon area has opened. The gates over there should have broken too. Remember to find the materials I want. We need to unlock the gate of the 1st demon area, not only to contact the antiquity Demogorgon in there, but also to prepare sufficient materials to break the seal. Don't worry, we will gather them, laughed Gudasi. There aren't many strong experts in the 3rd and the 4th demon areas. So, it's impossible to have an ancient family there. Our ancient Bao family can unite the fellows there this time for sure. You should hurry. The ancient Jia family is about to come. If we let them open the 1st demon area first, all of our efforts will be wasted. Bao Ao snorted. When he mentioned the ancient Jia family, he seemed annoyed. Got it. Ancient corpse tomb. There were many gravestones scattering on a moor, each having a dark entrance leading to the palace underground. According to the legends, the ancient corpse tomb was a strange land that existed from the antiquity time. To have a slot in the ancient corpse tomb, the owner of the tomb should be formidable. Under the headstone, it was another world. People said that the biggest tomb even had a hidden space as big as an entire city. At a gravestone that had many strange drawings of the Corpse Clan, Corpse Mount, Corpse Sea, and their people had arrived from the Endless Sea. Traveling through dozens, 1,000 miles, they had finally made it. Corpse Mount, Corpse Sea, and their fellows stopped in front of that grand headstone, using their special etiquette to bow and their distinct language to call. After a while, marvelous soul waves spread out from the entrance of the gravestone. Corpse Mount and Corpse Sea shivered in thrill. They were both surprised and happy, jolting up from their slots as they took their people to enter that grave. The Northern Gem Mountain. Chao Chiu Dao, Fan Xiangyan, and their men still stayed in this place. They hid inside the mountain, not daring to walk out. Ear-splitting screams and screech often echoed from the nearby mountains. Sometimes they heard the demonic beasts howling. All of them were more than enough to scare them out of their wits. Mangu wanted to get out there and hunt the beasts for food, but Chao Chiu Dao stopped him with only one sentence. There are 2 level 8 beasts among the herd. Mangu quit his idea instantly, staying still inside the mountain. Would that kid Shurian dump us here? If so, staying dully here isn't different from finding a way to death, right? Fan Xiangyan looked at the teleportation formation in front of her, eating some fruits with her distressed mood. Do you have any better ideas? Chao Chiu Dao said dispiritedly, throwing her a glare. If you have a better idea, I'll follow you. As long as you can save everybody, whatever it is, we'll follow you. Just tell us what to do. Fan Xiangyan was bewildered. Later on, she said feebly, I know nothing about the divine great land." "Then it won't work," Chao Chiodao harumphed. "I hear Shi Yan said that the Radiant God cult has true God Realm warriors, but now they are also in peril. What should we do?" Fan Xiang Yin didn't talk more. "Just wait then. At this moment, it's the most precise solution. If you don't have any business to do, don't go out. If our location is disclosed, calamity will fall on us." Chao Chiodao sighed, not knowing what to do. All of them felt dispirited as they smiled miserably, staying in this situation without a single hope. They didn't know when it would end. "It's over there. That's all that the two clans have now. Master Yen, I hope you can help us survive." Imu led the way to an extremely luxuriant foliage area. He talked to Shi Yan and pointed to a forest that had no leaks at all. Shi Yan nodded quietly. "Don't worry. As long as I'm alive, I will arrange things properly. Young Master Yen, please get in." Imu smiled begrudgingly. "The Grand General should know of your arrival by now. They have opened the gate of the barrier. We can get it now." "Yeah." Shi Yan was emotional. Somehow he didn't dare to step in as he didn't know how sorrowful the situation would be behind this barrier. "Master." Even when he hadn't got in, the sad voices of Tianmo and Kaba greeted him. Chapter 6:15. I have something to say. Chapter 6:15. I have something to say. It was a clear flat land with hundreds of plain rooms, surrounded by luxuriant ancient trees. Tianmo, Kaba, and many clansmen of the Dark Devil clan were as pale as wax. Obviously, they had suffered from malnutrition. Their aura were also feeble. Dishan and Yurua stayed with the winged clans members in another side. They had built some small tree houses. All of them looked exhausted. After Shi Yan arrived, scanning through this area, he couldn't help but sigh, shaking his head begrudgingly. He knew their lives were filled with struggles. Alien tribes deemed them as betrayers, while the human clan considered them as aliens. The Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan had fallen into a perilous situation like they had never before. They could see neither hopes nor future as they were counting every day of their survival. Both the Monster clan in the Perpetual Night Forest and the hotshots of the Human clan sneaking out from the secret domain made them their targets. They often swept the clansmen nearby. Begrudgingly, Tianmo and Kaba had to use the soul class barrier to barricade this area to prevent the warriors from using the soul consciousness to detect them. However, the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan had never been rich. They didn't have enough energy to maintain this soul barrier for a long time. Tianmo and Kaba had to pay a big price, which was to consume their soul consciousness to maintain the soul barrier. That's why they looked so exhausted. Dishan and Yurua came when they heard of Shi Yan's arrival. They also looked distressed. Yurua was pallid, as if she had some wounds. The four leaders of the two clans kept silent. They kneeled down in front of him, looking at him with great expectation. "How are you?" Shi Yan kept quiet for a while. His face was calm like water. "Nothing much. I got a minor wound. I will be all right after a while of recovering. Master, don't worry about me." Yurua smiled gingerly as her beautiful face didn't have her usual elegant demeanor. Some elders of the Martial Spirit Palace hurt her. If we hadn't run on time, perhaps we couldn't have saved her life. Wicked resentment sparked deep in Dishan's eyes. The warriors of the 7 ancient factions sometimes come out of the secret domain to chase and kill us. Without the soul barrier EG and Baji arranged, we wouldn't have made it until now. Imu had told Shi Yan about the secret domain of the Martial Spirit Palace, which also situated in the Perpetual Night Forest. The hotshots of the 7 ancient factions had brought many elite members and hid inside the secret domain. Usually, they wouldn't disclose themselves. However, the 7 ancient factions had many people and had a high demand for food and cultivating materials. Thus, they had to sneak out sometimes to hunt the beasts in the forest. Consequently, the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan often encountered dangers. "I'll get justice for you guys!" Shiryen stayed quiet for a while and then spoke up all of a sudden. "How many fellows do you have here?" "My clan has around 2,000, but the Winged clan is more pathetic. They have merely 1,000. If it continues this way, after half a year our two clans will be over," said Itianemo as he was scooping. "Master, should we leave the perpetual night forest?" Urua thinned her lips. The perpetual night forest has become a perilous place to live. Soon, it will become a great battlefield. We've been prepared to find a new place to stay. Shiryen kept silent. Although the divine Great Land was vast, experts of the alien tribes were everywhere. It was hard to find a peaceful place. Although the perpetual night forest had dangerous factors, it was relatively safe. If he took the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan out of here, if they met any pagans along the way, Shiryen had no way to protect them. Suddenly, he felt his realm and his power were really crappy at this moment. He wanted to protect them, but he didn't have the power to do so. At this moment, we should stay here. It's not safe out there. Shiryen pondered and then said, "I'll try my best. Yeah, I'm going to see the Yang family on the other side to discuss with them and see what we can do. Do we need to go with you, sir?" Dishan was upright, as sharp and cold as a sword taken out of its scabbard. He had reached the third sky of spirit realm. After the change of heaven and earth, his cultivation base had been increasing rapidly. If nothing unexpected happened, he could break through the true God realm shortly. At that time, his power would be more tremendous. Life of the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan was strenuous. Perhaps because of this, their potential was more intimidating. Not only Dishan, Urua, Ditianemo, and Kaba had also reached the second sky of spirit realm, and it was their sole effort without many supporting resources. If they had more cultivating materials, perhaps they would inherit the ancient Upanishad, which would boost their breakthrough speed faster. Compared to them, members of human clan couldn't have such support. The changed energy of heaven and earth in this continent didn't bring them many benefits. "No need," Shiryen shook his head. "You guys just stay here. I'll be back shortly. Then, I will give you new directions. Staying here or leaving, we will discuss later." All right, the four nodded. Sure, Yen knew the general direction of the Yang family. Leaving Itianmo's place, he flew fast. After one day, he arrived at the destination. Members of the Yang family stayed in a vast forest with some small mountains and lakes. They didn't need to worry about water supply. Also, there were some lush spiritual herbs in the lake. Yang Tian Emperor had refused to take shelter in the secret domain. He had taken his family and the Shi family to stay here safely. Tang Yuannan of the Three God sect was accepted by cult master Yin Hao of the Radiant God cult right when they arrived in the divine Great Land. Currently, he was one of the new elders of the Radiant God cult. Yun Hao trusted him greatly. Xia Qingho and his Xia family's warriors had met the hotshots of the Pure Land in the perpetual night forest. After they knew Xia Xian Yen had joined the Pure Land force, the Pure Land also received them. Lin Meng, the master of the Pure Land, gave Xia Xian Yen face as she was taking care of the Xia family pretty well. After Xia Qingho had met Xia Xian Yen, he was joyful. Soon, they had joined the Pure Land and became a relatively strong force of the Pure Land. As Tang Yuannan and Xia Qingho from the Endless Sea had a new shelter, they were satisfied with their current situation. When Yang Tian Emperor told Yin how that they wouldn't go to the secret domain, in fact, Tang Yuannan and Xia Qingho had advised him. However, Yang Tian Emperor was stubborn, and the other two had to leave him alone begrudgingly. The reasons why Yang Tian Emperor didn't want to go to the secret domain were because he didn't like the behavior of the 7 ancient factions, and he thought that the secret domain wasn't a safe place either. Anyway, not all the members of the Yang family agreed with him. The other warriors who had followed the Yang family and addressed Yang Tian Emperor as their master got to know the true God realm warriors like Yun Hao, Lin Meng, and Niaroa after they arrived in the divine Great Land. Since then, they thought their vision was widened. Under the aliens' invasion, their hearts cracked. They didn't consider Yang Tian Emperor their master anymore. When Yang Tian Emperor declared that he wanted to stay in the perpetual night forest, the 7 ancient factions had recruited the warriors who wanted to detach from the Yang family. At this moment, Yang Tian Emperor's side had around 2,000 people, including the Shi family. However, there were many people among these 2,000 people who were discontented with Yang Tian Emperor's decision. They had asked him to not care about the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan anymore, and that he should kill them all. Those people were filled with hatred. Although the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan didn't do anything to them, because they were racist, they still hated them. Yang Tian Emperor tried his best to comfort them. He discreetly shared a part of the hundreds of years' accumulation, including essence, qi crystals, and food, with Yi Tianmo and Dishan. His action made more people discontented. However, it could help the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan get over the struggling time and survive in the perpetual night forest. Sure, Yen reached the place where the Yang family sheltered. Looking at the ordinary formation outside, his heart sighed as he somehow felt sorrowful. The Yang family was a superior force in the endless sea. Experts of other forces had to bow to them. At the same time, the barriers and formations in the Immortal Island were also powerful, which had been made little by little over hundreds of years. Their defending power shouldn't be bad. However, after they arrived in the divine Great Land, compared to the other ancient factions, the Yang family wasn't worth mentioning. This defensive formation was made reluctantly due to the time limit and lack of cultivating materials. From his observation, he could see it was just a shell. Perhaps it couldn't resist even a single strike of a true God realm warrior. Walking to the lake, Shi Yan saw the first person he knew, Li Feng. She sat by the lake indifferently, her face dispirited. Sorrow stayed in her bright eyes. She was toying some small tree branches, throwing them into the lake. She didn't notice his arrival. From a distance, Shi Yan knew why she was sad. Shura King Li Mu was her only relative, and he was dead. Squeak! A window squeaked from the green stone house opposite to Li Feng. A man appeared behind the window, his face cold and grim. His eyes suddenly brightened as he was cheered up. He shouted, "Little Yen is back!" Just like the spring thunder, people of the Yang family and the Shi family were cheerful as if they were celebrating the new year. They came from every corner, gathering at the lake. Each of them greeted Shi Yan. From a further distance, some warriors who depended on the Yang family and the Shi family were watching. Some of them felt happy, but the others had their faces darkened. Apparently, they weren't happy at all. The Yang family had protected the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan because of Shi Yan. In the eyes of those who got fed up, Shi Yan was the reason they were kept away from the secret domain. They thought that without Shi Yan, perhaps they would have been in the secret domain deep inside this perpetual night forest and befriended the 7 ancient factions, which would ensure their safety and their future. Shi Yan smiled brightly. He squinted as he was sensitive enough to see the part that was disgruntled. "I have something to say." His voice wasn't high, but it reverberated in every corner of the place. Not only the Yang family standing near the lake, but also the dark-faced warriors hiding afar were startled. Yang Tian Emperor frowned, but he didn't intervene Shi Yan. He listened attentively while raising his arm to get his people's attention. Chapter 616, Run Counter. Chapter 616, Run Counter. Hundreds of members of the Yang family and the Shi family were listening to Shi Yan by the lake. The Yangs and the Shirs had accepted Shi Yen from the bottom of their hearts. Especially the Shurs from the quiet cloudland, they always supported him unconditionally. They deemed Shur Yan's words the truth to be followed. They all knew that without Shur Yan, they would have never come to the endless sea. They understood well that if they were still in the quiet could land, they would have died already. Those people had watched Shur Yan's growth from a little boy without essence chi. After 10 years, he now had a new height each time they next saw him. All the members of the Shur family admired Shur Yan. In their eyes, Shur Yan was no doubt a wise god with unmeasured potential. His future would surely be brighter. Instinctively, they thought that they had to go with Shur Yan to have a better life. However, many warriors who had submitted to the Yang family didn't look at him with such admiration, especially the group of hotshots who had usually battled in the 4th demon area. In their eyes, Yang Tian Emperor was their sole leader. After they arrived in the divine Great Land, the warriors who always submitted to the stronger started to look down on Yang Tian Emperor. If the Yang family hadn't given them favors, perhaps they would have left already. However, it was enough to keep them stay until now. Great-grandpa, I think many people here want to take shelter in the secret domain together with the 7 ancient factions. That place is relatively safer anyway, and the 7 ancient factions will be glad to accept them. Sure, Yen wore an indifferent countenance. His eyes raked around the further area. He continued, neither slow nor fast. Many of them have received the favors of the Yangs and the Shurs. That's why they stay. However, their hearts aren't with us. Well, I think it's too bad to stay here, right? You guys should be like the other people who left to the secret domain to save their lives. You shouldn't stay here awaiting danger with us. Kid, what do you mean? A consecrate of the Yang at the 2nd sky of Sky Realm with a gray beard and a green robe asked coldly, "Where we should stay, do we need you to provoke or mock us?" "Who are you?" Shur Yan frowned. Leader of the 5 Yikshas of the Yang family, Shun Lin. That old man snorted. He slightly rose his head, depending on his seniority, to speak up again. Our 5 Yikshas have been fighting in the 4th demon area. Before you arrived the Endless Sea, we had already been in the 4th demon area. Although we aren't the most entitled elders of the Yang family, what we have contributed to the Yang family isn't something you can ignore to scold us like that. Sure, Yen didn't change his complexion. He was still nonchalant like water in the lake as he nodded. I've admired you guys for too long. The name of the 5 Yikshas is like thunder in my ears. Besides the 3 great Shura kings, the 5 Yikshas were part of the strong warriors of the Yang family. The 5 Yikshas didn't work in the Endless Sea. However, they had an outstanding reputation in the 4th demon area. Many members of the demon clan in the 4th demon area were scared the sh*t out of them when they heard the name of the 5 Yikshas. They addressed them as the human butchers. Shinlin was the leader of the 5 Yikshas, with the 2nd sky of Sky Realm cultivation base. In the Yang family, he had a reputation and an important position. Even Yang Tian Emperor had to respect him. What are you yelling? No matter what the master says, we will follow him. But you, a kid who still needs his titties, do you think you are qualified to strut your stuff here? Shin Lin harumphed, ignoring Shur Yan's compliment. What decision we make, it has nothing to do with you. Kid, don't think that with your relationship with that 2 alien tribes, you can swing your arms in front of us. Harumph, if it's not because of the master, I'm not afraid to give you a lesson. As Shenlin had spent his recent years in the 4th demon area, he didn't understand Shur Yan much. Although he had heard about the young man's operation in the Endless Sea, Shenlin still thought that Shur Yan had faked his attainment of cultivation base and realm. He believed that all were just rumors. At this moment, in Shur Yan's eyes, he just needed to swing his arm to kill a 2nd sky of Sky Realm warrior. He didn't put that old man in his mind. However, he wouldn't do that. He knew if he took action, it would chill many people, which would have no benefit for their issues now. What Shen Lin said didn't please people's ears, but it was truly what many experts of the Yang family had in their heads. If he killed Shen Lin, warriors who had submitted to the Yang's family would feel dejected. People who always thought of the Yang family would also have a different thought, and even Yang Tian Emperor couldn't calm down the situation then. Well, I'm not qualified to talk more. I just want to say that no one can predict the divine great land situation now, and it's not sure that the 7 ancient factions could preserve the inheritance flame of human clan. Shi Yan smiled with a calm look. Of course, if someone thinks that the Yangs can't protect him, and the Yangs aren't as strong as the 7 ancient factions, it's better to leave earlier. One day you stay, that's one more day you have to worry about. This won't be helpful to your cultivating path. Great-grandpa, I think you won't stop people from finding a better way for them, right? Sure. Yen looked up to see Yang Tian Emperor across the lake. Yang Tian Emperor cracked a smile and then spoke slowly. I've told you guys, I will never hinder your career. If you think Yang Tian Emperor isn't qualified, you can leave at any minute. Master, the Yang family has given us favors. At the critical time of the family, we will never leave. Shen Lin slightly bent his body, his face honest. The Yang family had taken care of us in the endless sea for a long time. We are the members of the Yang family. It's the same when we are in the divine great land. We swear on our death that we will follow the master. As long as the Yang family does not expel us, we will not leave. Many warriors who had submitted to the Yangs yelled and shouted. However, no one knew how honest they were. Yang Tian Emperor beamed a faint smile. He waved his hands to calm people down, then looked at Shi Yan with some deep ideas in his eyes. Little Yan, don't talk much. You've just arrived, and there are many things you don't know yet. Come, we need to talk. Harumph. Such a brat who doesn't know his lot but dares to babble here. Shen Lin's face was dark and cold as he glared at Shi Yan. Shi Yan frowned. His mouth was stiff and solemn like a cold saber. He just nodded without saying anything else. He had received the soul thought from Yang Tian Emperor. Now he knew that the situation here wasn't really similar to his assumptions. What he'd planned was now postponed. Gliding by the lake, Shi Yan walked to the stone pavilion of Yang Tian Emperor. Shi Jian, Shi Tai, and Yang Hai were with him. They all looked happy. Official experts of the Yang family, like Yang Zhuo, also stepped forward. Xin Lin watched them quietly, his eyes dark and calm. He exchanged looks with the other Sky realm warriors out there. They seemed to have another plan. It's not like what you've thought. After they had seated in the stone building, Yang Tian Emperor said after he let Shi Yan, Shi Jian, Shi Tai, Yang Hai, Yang Zhuo, and Yang Mu hug and greet each other. At present, we have 2,000 people here. However, at least half of them want to leave. Among this group, some people who have received favors from the Yangs are hesitant. However, a big part of them doesn't think the same. It isn't that they don't want to leave, they have some other plans. Ah. Shi Yan's visage changed. Some want to join the 7 ancient factions, but they know their starting point isn't strong enough. They want to make a better starting point. They want to take more people to join the 7 ancient factions. Perhaps many of them have agreed already. The reason why they haven't left yet is that they want to take more people with them. Or they want to collect more intelligence from our side. Yang Tian Emperor wore a smile, but his eyes were as cold as the blades. Shi Yan suddenly enlightened. As the divine great land had such a big calamity, the ancient factions had to bear a significant loss. So many disaster, Nirvana, and Sky Realm warriors were killed. Their foundation was shaken, and their force wasn't strong enough. In the divine great land, the cradle of martial techniques, a major number of human experts were unharmed, but the number of low realm warriors was decreasing rapidly. To the 7 ancient factions, they all valued the future, as they understood, well, that the low realm warriors would become their strong pillars shortly. Thus, the 7 ancient factions were trying their best to unite those small forces, using the secret domain to entice them, which would give their organizations the new blood. Because of this reason, when Tang Yuan Nan and Xiaqing Ho brought the 3-god sect and the Xia family to join the Radiant God cult and the Pure Land, they didn't meet any obstacles. Quite the contrary, they were well treated and greatly favored. In this current situation, the one who could bring more low-realm warriors to join the 7 ancient factions would always be welcomed. If someone could take the elite force of the Yang family, he would definitely become someone important that the 7 ancient factions had to favor. At that time, they could earn fame and a high position. As his mind flickered, Shurian got the picture. Gradually, he found the mistakes in his assumption. Great-grandpa, what are you going to do? Sure, Yen pondered for a while and then said, keeping these cunning people here isn't useful at all. It could even shake the foundation of the Yang family. Many of them have brought victories to the Yang family. If we aim at them, we can accidentally chill the hearts of the ones who are loyal to us. It's really a tough matter. I have a plan that can make them leave on their own. Anyway, I think it's a bit risky, so I haven't carried out yet. Yang Tian Emperor smiled coldly. We can't kill them immediately. So, at first, we will push them, then calculate the debts later. I was thinking about bringing the tremendous demonic beasts here to give them a false image that the Yang family will see soon, which would make them leave. Under this circumstance, they won't have the face to get back to us again. However, it's too dangerous. I'm still hesitant. Anyway, you're back now. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He cracked a smile. Great-grandpa, you do have a good idea. Those people soon had other thoughts. Perhaps they were already the members of the 7 ancient factions now. If they saw the Yang family's severe situation, they wouldn't risk their lives to stay. Naturally, they would choose to leave discreetly. That way, they didn't need to cause a war or make the ones who had followed the Yangs wholeheartedly distressed. It was a good way to get rid of this malignant tumor. However, the premise was that the Yangs should have absolute confidence. In the critical time where people had to sacrifice, they needed to have the ability to maintain the power of the family. I've planned properly. As long as you can help me deal with a level 8 beast, we can carry this plan, smiled Yang Tian Emperor. Don't worry. Even there are 2 beasts, I can make them leave, said Shi Yan. Then we're absolutely safe. Chapter 617, Rupture. Chapter 617, Rupture. Sigma. Deep in the thick forest, 100 li away from the Yang family shelter, Xinlin and one of the Ikshas, Dongjin, were sitting upright. Almost 100 Earth Realm and Nirvana Realm warriors were surrounding them. They were forming a round-shaped formation, as though they were waiting for something. Stood between Xinlin and Dongjin was an adult-sized silver mirror. After receiving essence chi from the warriors, the blurry mirror became clearer, and a figure slowly appeared in the mirror. Xinlin and Dongjin were tense. They jolted up from their seats and clasped their fists to greet that person. They looked even more respectful than when they were talking with Yang Tian Emperor. The figure in the mirror got clearer. That was a bony old man wearing a gray robe and an ugly green mask. He then asked with a desolate tone, "How is it going?" Xinlin was solemn. He bent his body while hurrying to answer the old man. "Almost done. At least we can take half of them and leave. After a while, we can take more people. When the pressure gets higher, the number of people with different thoughts will increase too." The old man in the mirror nodded, his tone cold and low. "So, why did you need to contact me?" "Shi Yan is back," Xinlin scooped, muttering. Shi Yan, the old man in the silver mirror, suddenly got stirred up. He shouted, "Keep an eye on him. That kid is a troublemaker. Don't let him ruin our business. Pay attention to him, but don't provoke him. I will think of a plan to eliminate him." Xinlin and Dongjin were stunned. They all knew the identity and the cultivation base of the man in the mirror. A strong warrior like him valued Shi Yan that much, which frightened them. At this moment, they vaguely recognized that the information they had about Shi Yan wasn't sufficient. Shi Yan's really cunning and wicked. You guys shouldn't contact me for the time being. Things I asked you to do, you can also slow down, the old man pondered. Just wait. Don't leave. Keep an eye on them for me. I'll handle Shi Yan. Shen Lin and Dong Jin agreed quickly. All of a sudden, there came a beast howling from far away. A thick blood scent arose from a far distance. Shen Lin and Dong Jin were frightened. They excused themselves, retrieved the silver mirror, then scattered disorderly. Grabbing a Nirvana realm warrior, Dong Jin asked furiously, "What's going on?" "Beasts." The other wore a panic-stricken face. "At least 10 beasts. Perhaps they have a level 8 beast, too. They are moving towards the master of the family. So frightening." The young warrior said quickly. Abruptly, he talked again with fright. "Should we get back there? Or else we can leave now. I don't feel good about it." "Coward! If we leave in this little case, we are going to burn all our efforts." Dong Jin slapped the man and then shouted, "All of you, follow me back!" Shin Lin didn't say anything, as he was considering the situation in his heart. Then he ran together with Dong Jin towards the Yang family shelter. Ruorer! Crazy roaring and howling reverberated from everywhere, covering the Yang family's shelter. Members of the Yang family shivered in fear on hearing the beast roaring and howling. They were pale, but they had gritted their teeth and prepared to counter the enemy. "Master? Where's the headmaster?" Shin Lin and Dong Jin hurried to get back. There had not been any big damage. After they had confirmed the situation, they exhaled in relief. Then they asked for Yang Tian Emperor's whereabouts. "I don't know. The headmaster said that he was going out to hunt beasts. He hasn't come back yet," an official disciple of the Yang family answered him. "The heck? Why does he need to hunt the beasts at this moment?" "We aren't in the endless sea now," Dong Jin muttered, his face grimaced. Many official disciples of the Yangs put on a furious countenance when they heard Dong Jin's utterance. Their eyes sparkled with anger. "Dong Jin, you don't have the right to comment what the headmaster did." Yang Zhuo walked over, glaring at him coldly. His face was wry, as he didn't think that someone dared to doubt Yang Tian Emperor in the Yang family. The corner of Dong Jin's mouth jerked up as he was about to mock more. Right at this moment, Shi Yan appeared from nowhere. His eyes were as sharp and cold as a saber, gazing at Dong Jin. A murderous aura started to rise from his body. Dong Jin changed his countenance. He remembered the old man's attitude toward Shi Yan. All of a sudden, he felt shivers running through his spine. He swallowed what he wanted to say. Shi Yan curled his lips and beamed a silent smile, but he didn't launch a brutal strike. "The master is back! Headmaster is back!" The outer guard suddenly shouted. Shortly after his report, Yang Tian Emperor appeared with a bloody chest. He looked struggling and distressed. By the lake, all the warriors, including the Yang family's disciples and the warriors who had submitted to the Yangs, paled as they saw their master's appearance. In their hearts, Yang Tian Emperor was the peerless warrior at his second sky of spirit realm. He had the competence to counter even a higher realm expert. Even in this divine great land, Yang Tian Emperor had a high position. A true expert, like him, got hurt badly with that dispirited posture. What kind of danger he had encountered? People's hearts plunged down to the bottom of the valley. "This situation is not good." Yang Tian Emperor was solemn like never before. "There are 2 level 8 beasts coming. I'm hurt severely. In the next hour, the beasts will come here." When he finished, everybody else paled. A deep despair appeared on their faces. Besides the 2 level 8 beasts, there are some level 7, a couple hundred level 6 and 5 beasts. The 2 level 8 ones lead them. Yang Tian Emperor said without hesitating. We shouldn't scatter. Otherwise, we will get hurt or even die. I'll stay here to see if I can stop this wave. This will help more people survive. Young Tian Emperor was begrudging, his eyes sorrowful. He rose his muscular arm and said, "Today could be the day the Yang family is over. I, Yang Tian Emperor, have no power to bring you a better future. I'm sorry, guys. At this moment, I can only put forth everything to keep more people alive. I'll stay, and all main branches of the Yang family will stay here to support too. I hope most of you will survive. Master, we are going with you. Wherever you are, we will be with you. We will never leave you. We will not let the head master bear all the things for us." A part of the warriors who had submitted to the Yang family shouted bravely as they heard Yang Tian Emperor's words. However, a bigger number stayed idle. Some of them paled. Their eyes sparkled while they were trying to make up their minds on a hard decision. Xin Lin and Dong Jin were startled. They weren't sure if it was Yang Tian Emperor's plan. They just stood and frowned, waiting for the dangerous change to come. Roar! A terrifying roar stormed over like enraging sea clouds, bringing the bloody murderous aura while coming towards them from a far distance. The rumbling sounds of trees breaking echoed continuously from a far place. A frightening aura quickly filled the place. Something was moving closer to this area. Many people revealed their despair. Some of them had made up their minds. Many were anxious, looking at Xinlin and Dong Jin while urging them with their looks. Xinlin and Dong Jin exchanged looks. They all saw fear in the other's eyes. They hesitated, but didn't dare to give out a decision. Abruptly, they made up their minds. "Master, will take a part of us to leave here first. After we bring the Low Realm warriors to a safe place, we'll be back to help you." Xinlin stepped forward. He even forgot the etiquette, trying to be more honest. "Please take care, Master. We will not let you down. We will protect our elite force." No matter what way he chose to conceal this, leaving at this critical time was a sign of betrayal. Everybody here had a bright vision. They all knew he was just saying the F***king excuse to protect his cowardice. "Xinlin, you big old dog." Ling Ming, one of the 5 Yakshas, thundered indignantly. "When your family left you wounded in the middle of a herd of beasts, who saved you? Who had risked his life to save you from the mouth of the beasts? I didn't think that you could be such a coward. You are a shameless, ungrateful bastard. I'm thinking for the Yang family. I want to fulfill the headmaster's wish." Shen Lin changed his face, shouting with a vicious complexion. "Ha!" Ling Ming laughed out loud, shook his head and sneered. "Everybody knows your heart, old friend." Shinmu was so embarrassed that he got enraged. However, at this moment, they all heard the beast roaring again. His pupils shrank. He didn't bother with Ling Ming's reaction, just clasped his fist and greeted Yang Tian Emperor, then shouted, "Come with me. We should survive for our master." After that, he and Dong Jin flew up first, heading to the area of the 7 ancient factions in the perpetual night forest. The crowd of the warriors who had submitted to the Yang family scooped, not daring to look at the members of the Yangs. They gingerly walked for a while, then soared up to the sky to get away from the place. Ling Ming and the other members of the Yang family looked at the leaving people with a grimaced countenance. It was beyond their expectations that the number of warriors who decided to leave with Shenlin was not just half of them. It was more than 2/3. Around 1,500 warriors had submitted to the Yang family. At this moment, more than 1,000 decided to leave. The brave ones who stayed weren't more than 500. Although he had prepared himself well, seeing this big contradiction, Yang Tian Emperor didn't feel good. His face was bitter as he shook his head with an intense pain in his heart. He had thought that at least half of them would decide to stay. No one had expected this level of a pathetic situation. "We should eradicate the malignant tumor." "Great-grandpa, don't be upset. I think one day they will know how big the mistake they made today is. Shi Yan's face was also grimaced. He clenched his jaw, talking mercilessly. Chapter 618, Later Happiness? Chapter 618, Later Happiness. Sigma. After Xinlin and Dong Jin took their men and left, there were no more than 1,000 people, including the Yangs and the Shurs. Not more than 500 warriors, who to stay with the Yang family. Old people took a big part of this group. However, they didn't have a profound realm or an excellent competence. Yang Tian Emperor stood idle. He exhaled, then his lips convulsed. Later on, he said indifferently, "Good then. It's good anyway." Apparently, he seemed distressed. The sadness of Shenlin and Dong Jin's departure couldn't be dispersed just yet. Those people had vowed to devote their lives to the Yang family the year they had joined this force. However, when they left, they were so determined. They didn't hesitate at all. Their situation was similar to Shenlin's. They used to have no place to return to in the entire endless sea. Some were expelled by their own families, while the others had a strong enemy they couldn't counter. To avoid death, they had joined the Yang family. That year, Yang Tian Emperor had been frank and generous enough to bear their debts. He had helped them solve their problems. He even took revenge for them, which gave them face. Their departure made Yang Tian Emperor recognize people's hearts. Now he knew that even if he could provide them more, it would never be a sufficient weight to hold them. Roar. The demonic beast roaring reverberated like a beating drum hitting people's hearts. They all felt tenser. Anybody else wants to leave? Shurian got up as if he didn't see the beasts coming closer. He said faintly, "If you leave now, you still have a chance to live. If you linger, perhaps you have to stay here forever. Kid, don't be wordy." Ling Ming bit his lips. His aura was fierce, like a beast escaping its cage. "If we decide to stay, we don't hold on the thought of being lucky again. Stop talking nonsense." 1/3 of the crowd surrounding the lake had their eyes bloodshot. They were ready to have a bloody battle with the beasts. Sure, Yin cracked a smile as he nodded in his heart. It wasn't that they didn't have a consciousness and didn't know how to repay favors. Ling Ming and the 500 who stayed had decided to be with them at the deadliest time, the time they knew they would die, but they didn't hesitate to come forward. Shi Yan was touched. His attitude towards them became tender, much better than when he talked to Xinlin and Dong Jin. "Don't worry, Uncle Ling. Everybody's going to be safe. If we survive the great catastrophe, we will have happiness later. Wait until we defeat the demonic beasts. I think we all harvest something." Ling Ming was surprised. He looked at the young man suspiciously, his face odd. "Do you think we will survive?" "Of course we will. Perhaps 1/4 of our 1,000 people here can survive. It's good enough." Ling Ming was solemn and stirring, smiling quietly. "Anyway, I'm sure I will not be one of them. I'm old, and my realm can't be developed further. I have no bright future, even if I continue to live. I should save the chance to survive for the young generation." "Master Ling." "Uncle Ling." Many young warriors couldn't help but have tears linger in their eyes. They were stirred up, shouting and thundering. They crossed their hearts to stay and collaborate toward the common goal. "No, no, no, no." Shurian shook his head continually, talking more seriously to the others. "Not 1/4. Believe me, everybody will survive. Moreover, you will have a better life." Everybody was bewildered, looking at him disbelievingly, as they thought that he was so scared of the beasts that he had gone crazy. Even Yang Tian Emperor couldn't resist the beasts and got hurt. The level 8 beasts would absolutely be the formidable ones. Spirit realm warriors couldn't deal with beasts at this level. Moreover, the coming herd didn't have only 2 beasts, but almost 100 of them. "Young Master Yen, you shouldn't stay here. Your future would be much brighter, you know," said Ashura King, Mo Dunhuan emotionlessly. You should live and clean all the ones who have betrayed us today. In the future, just worship us with their heads." Ling Ming nodded continually. Obviously, he agreed with Mo Dunhuan. Shi Yan was stunned for a while, then he laughed. "Don't worry, Uncle Mo. I won't shoot the arrows aimlessly. Level 8 demonic beasts aren't that dangerous. All right, let's scatter. You guys go there and wait." Finally, Yang Tian Emperor spoke up. He pointed at the stone buildings behind the lake and assigned the other low realm warriors. "Old Mo, Little Ling, you guys follow me." He nodded to Mo Dunhuan and Ling Ming. Mo Dunhuan and Ling Ming were suspicious. They exchanged looks, then followed Yang Tian Emperor in silence. Yang Zhua, Shi Jian, and Shi Tai were ready. When they wanted to step forward and support Shi Yan, he stopped them and smiled. "Grandpa, don't go there. You guys stay here and protect them. It's not as serious as you thought." Shi Jian's face was gloomy as he advised Shi Tai, "You guys go back." He rolled his eyes at Shi Yan persistently and grunted, "Do you think your grandpa is an obstacle now? Do you think my cultivation base is too low and that I can't help you with anything?" Shi Yan had a headache. He shook his head immediately. "No, no, Grandpa. If you want, just come here." Yang Tian Emperor, Mo Dunhuan, Ling Ming, Shi Yan, Shi Jian took 100 Nirvana realm warriors, lining in front of the forest. Shi Yan squinted, releasing the war devil and taking out his sky destroyer divine sword. He started to urge and accumulate the power in his body. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Amidst the noisy, annoying sounds of the beasts moving through the forest, ancient trees were broken easily as breaking a dried branch. Dust rose everywhere and smoke shot aloft. The unique, bloodthirsty, and brutal aura of the demonic beasts permeated the place from the thick smoke. Mo Dunhuan, Ling Ming, and Shi Jian became tense. They immediately took out the secret treasures to join this bloody battle. Their weapons were a hook, a spear, and a broadsword. At first glance, Shi Yan knew they were just rank 3 spirit grade treasures. They didn't have a formation or a strange rippling energy. "Uncle Mo, Uncle Ling, Grandpa, later on, you guys should give me your secret treasures that you are using. I'm going to help you refine them." Before the beasts arrived, he still had the mood to laugh with them. This kid didn't care about his life indeed. Mo Dunhuan, Ling Ming, and Shi Jian were stupefied as they couldn't make head or tail. Yang Tian Emperor was moved. His eyes brightened. He asked gingerly, "You know how to refine treasures?" Shi Yan nodded. Yang Tian Emperor smiled dazzlingly. He nodded to Shi Yan. At this moment, roughly 100 demonic beasts at various levels appeared in their visions. The leader of this group was a fierce flame gold lion, around 100 meters tall. The red fur on its body was almost 1 meter long, which made it look like a bunch of flames. Gold rays of light radiated from the lion as it was releasing an intensive heat. Standing next to the fierce flame gold lion was a python with 4 curled horns. Round black and white patterns appeared distinctively on its body, which was like a mountain of flesh. This was the level 8 beast, called Silver-Horned Great Python. The fierce flame gold lion and the silver-horned great python were the level 8 beasts. They could transform. Although these two hadn't changed yet, the light of wisdom in their eyes was obvious. Before the change of heaven and earth energy, level 8 beasts with intellect weren't ordinary. After the great change, their intelligence was no different from that of human beings. They had become high-grade creatures. Not only they could reason, they also knew how to use the powers in their bodies. After the 2 level 8 beasts arrived, they stopped and observed the situation. They didn't hurry. Shi Yan cracked a smile. He let the war devil release the furious, murderous aura while he was accumulating his energy. Shi Yan secretly let the death domain expand. The quiet but desperate aura had scared all the beasts on the opposite side. Yang Tian Emperor arched his brows. His blood and aura both were boiling up, giving people an extreme feeling of danger. The two level 8 beasts didn't say anything. They sensed for a while, as if they were considering whether to have a bloody battle or not. My master said that this area is under his authority. You have 1 month to leave here. Otherwise, my master will kill you all. The fierce flame gold lion contemplated for a while and then thundered. Its giant mouth, as big as a pond of blood, spitting out fiery flames. Heating waves shot out torrentially. Level 8 beasts could understand human languages. They had enough faculty to communicate with high-grade beings. Yang Tian Emperor had dragged the fierce flame gold lion and the silver-horned great python here. They had thought that they could kill Yang Tian Emperor. However, now they had two unknown factors, Shi Yan and the War Devil. The two members of the monster clan changed their minds, but they didn't want to lose their power and prestige, so they had to scare the others using words. Master. Shi Yan smiled. Who is your master? Master Flame Dragon. Fierce Flame Gold Lion and the silver-horned Great Python proudly answered in unison. A level 9 flame, Flood Dragon, Ling Ming reminded him. Shi Yan was enlightened. He nodded and talked to the fierce Flame Gold Lion and the silver-horned Great Python. All right, we got it. We will discuss a little bit. Perhaps we will visit your master and tell him something he'll be interested in. My master doesn't like humans. He won't meet you. You'd better leave early. Fierce Flame Gold Lion knew that they couldn't get what they wanted today, so it could only leave with the silver-horned Great Python with rage. A herd of 100 beasts at various levels followed those two and left quickly. That fiery flame, Flood Dragon, has just reached level 9 recently. He's a dangerous factor in this perpetual night forest. Ling Ming sighed, knitting his brows. But the fiery flame dragon isn't the most dangerous one. There are more tremendous beasts in the perpetual night forest. Moreover, they have their own territories. Our shelter's in the territory of the fiery flame dragon. I heard that there's a beast which is about to reach level 10 in the secret domain. Even the 7 ancient factions couldn't do any harm to it. Sure, Yen slightly changed his countenance. It seems the situation of this perpetual night forest's really complicated. Of course it is, Ling Ming beamed a forced smile. Otherwise we wouldn't see many heartless and cruel people. Yang Tian Emperor nodded, swinging his hand. No need to talk about it. Before we get the ability, it will only hurt us. Ling Ming and Mo Dun Huan became stern, as they understood the situation well. Great Grandpa, please give me all the cultivating materials of the Yang family. I want to refine weapons on a massive scale. I want to improve everybody's competence. I want to enhance your secret treasures and weapons within half a month. I want to strengthen those who decided to stay with us. Shi Yan took a deep breath and then thundered. Chapter 619. Frantically Great Refining. Chapter 619. Frantically Great Refining. Flows of scarlet flames condensed into an exquisite arm, moving back and forth in a wide jade ditch. Scorching lava splashed, while sharp and distinctive crystal stones were moving as if they were living beings. The wide ditch connected every direction, branching into hundreds of narrow canals. Visible energy waves rippled from those canals in a strange, liquid form. Relatively low-grade secret treasures were dragged into the wide ditch by an invisible force one by one. Next, the fiery flame in the blazing lava started to refine them. Many black contaminants were extracted, sinking to the bottom. The wide ditch extended in every direction. From a bird's-eye view, it was a mysterious, complicated ancient formation. It was around 10 square li. Its branches looked like the fiery swimming snakes. Flames rose torrentially, scorching and brutal, as though they were alien flaming beasts that could swallow everything. Secret treasures with different shapes were moving heavily in this strange but magical ancient formation. As they were heated up, a strange energy existing in this mysterious formation was absorbed into them. A vivid red-hued young man sat cross-legged in the void above the ditch. His eyes were slightly closed as his hands were making many moves of the secret techniques. A symbol shot out from his palms. It exposed an ancient formation in the void, which was outlined by delicate rays of light. At first, the formation was tiny, just as big as a thumb. However, it was drawn with thousands of flimsy energy lines, which was extremely complicated. Then the formation slowly descended and enlarged to the size of a palm. Then a bowl, a door. The formation, which was drawn with several thousand energy fibers, became clearer with time. Its patterns looked like the patterns on someone's palm, naturally mysterious. In some aspects, it looked like the great earth, solemn and respectful. In another aspect, it was like a little bird swiftly flying away, leaving no trace. Different formations had unclear trajectories, but they all contained the mysterious truths of heaven and earth. They fluttered like light curtains as they descended from the sky into the wide ditch and imprinted on the purified treasures. Receiving a formation each, those secret treasures started to change miraculously. Energy fluctuations rippled, while their mother material was changing its natural characteristics. Some became smooth and beautifully jade-like. Some were so rigid that nothing could break it. But at the same time, these treasures could be as soft and flexible as cotton. Users could stretch them as much as they pleased. It seemed the treasures would never fracture. Different treasures had different formations, which gave them different marvelous abilities. After they were purified and carved with a magical formation, receiving new abilities, the treasures would fly up. Each treasure now had a beautiful halo. Energy waves rippled from them tremendously. They also had a new appearance, mysterious and beautiful, such that people couldn't shift their eyes from them. Several hundred warriors stood around the wide ditch. Everyone balled their hands into fists. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly, as flames of desire burned in their eyes. When a sword, secret treasure, made a beautiful curve in the air with a moonlight halo around before falling into a man's hand, that man couldn't control his thrill. He was shaking while talking to Shi Yen. Thank you, young Master Yen." The young man floating in the sky slightly opened his eyes and beamed a faint smile. "The material of your sword is not good enough. After I extracted the contaminants and inscribed the burning water extinguishing formation, it could only reach rank 3 of spirit grade. Too bad." No, not bad at all." The warrior got startled. He clutched his sword tightly as though he had just collected a precious treasure. Suddenly, he had a magical feeling of having a blood connection with his weapon. The power hidden in his sword released a scorching flame, which could combine perfectly with the technique he was cultivating. "Young Master Yen, this sword was just a rank 1 mysterious grade sword. You have leveled it up by 1 more grade." "Master Yen, I'm just at the 3rd sky of human realm, but with this sword I now dare deal with a disaster realm warrior." That young man was so excited he started to babble. As he was trying to restrain himself, his body shook vehemently. After the young warrior said that, many warriors around started to be jealous of him. They were like bloodthirsty beasts gazing at the ditch. Their life treasures flew to the ditch like a cloud of grasshoppers, falling into the burning lava canals. In the beginning, when Shi Yen was arranging this formidable formation, they thought that it couldn't work that much. It wasn't easy to upgrade a common treasure. Even if he were the great blacksmith of the divine great land, he had to prepare the required materials sufficiently. He had spent 10 days to carve a strange ditch formation, then poured several hundred kinds of materials in it. After he'd released the heaven flame, he asked people to throw their treasures into the wide ditch. Many people didn't believe him, as they were afraid that he would break their treasures. when Yang Tian Emperor couldn't help but give them order. Some people started to gingerly throw their treasures into the ditch. The warrior who had just caught the flying sword was the first one who received big benefits. A rank 1 of mysterious grade treasure had upgraded to rank 3 of spirit grade. 1 whole grade skipped up. There was no doubt, no more questions. Those people now looked like a pack of hungry wolves, throwing their weapons and treasures into the wide ditch in front of them. Stop! Sure, Yen let out a light shout. He spoke to them seriously. The stream of energy in this ancient formation has a limit. It can't refine too many things at the same time. Otherwise, I'm not sure it can eliminate the contaminants in your treasures. No need to rush. I'm going to help you refine your treasures, one by one. Young Master Yen, I haven't thrown mine yet. Ling Ming faced up with a red face. Only 1 treasure. Only 1 treasure of mine, is it okay? Uncle Ling, don't be like that. You shouldn't disturb. Old Ling, I've thrown my treasure. You shouldn't mess things up. Mo Dunhuan and a young man saw Ling Ming was about to break the rule and became frightened, walking over to pull the old man back with an anxious complexion. Get off me. MOG, get off me. Ling Ming had his veins bulging on his neck. F***CK. Who knows if the materials there are enough for all? No, you have to accept my treasure. If you don't let me go, I'll hit you. Ling Ming knew the materials in the ditch were all precious, and he wasn't sure that Yang Tian Emperor could have more to supply. If not, his spirit-grade treasure could only wait for the next chance. But he didn't know when the next chance would be. If you put your treasures in, our grade can be dragged down. We will risk our lives with you. Mu Dunhuan was always a calm person, but now he was exposing his ugly face, shouting indignantly. I don't care. My treasure has to be refined. Ling Ming rolled his sleeves, his face reddening as he was about to fight with the other. What do you think you're doing? However, Yang Tian Emperor interrupted them at this moment. Little Ling, you were scared and didn't want to put your treasure in there. Now, you shouldn't blame the others. Yeah, you have to wait for the next round. Yang Tian Emperor made Ling Ming goggle, his face grief-stricken. Ling Ming sighed continually. He was blaming himself for not having sharp eyes, that he couldn't see Shi Yan's earth-shaking ability. Shi Yan didn't talk, hearing Yang Tian Emperor intervening. Shi Yan continued to close his eyes and perform more refining techniques. His soul consciousness and the pure energy in his body were condensed and constantly changing according to his thought. They formed the ancient formation to refine treasures or the exquisite, magical seals imprinting on the treasures in the ditch. During the whole process, his mind and spirit were crystal clear. He had no negative feelings, and his soul seemed to sublimate. He suddenly understood that when his acupuncture points converted the negative energy, even though this process was marvelous, his soul couldn't control it. Every time he used Rampage, he would fall into the old trace of getting bedevilment, which would leave some bad repercussions. During this refining process, his mind and spirit were translucent, as though his soul was washed with an invisible holy water. The mist curtains that hindered his mind were gradually cleaned, leaving his soul calm and steady. While he was concentrating on refining, he was also purifying his soul. This could prevent him from getting lost. His soul could gain benefits from this too. Refining techniques and carving formations contained some true meanings of heaven and earth. His understanding of these meanings became more profound, giving him different perception of different energies. After Shi Yan found that refining treasures could help him that much, he started to consider it carefully. Now he had no contradictions anymore, considering it as experience of a warrior, which gave him more benefits. Many warriors of the Yang family and the Shi family observed him floating in the air, making many hand seals. His anxious, stirring moods were all calmed down. Looking at the miraculous expanding formations he was making, which vaguely depicted heaven and earth's operation rules, Some warriors seemed to understand something. They sat down cross-legged, their mind illuminated with the light of knowledge. The formation was one kind of heaven and earth's energy form. If they could understand the mysteries of these formations, it would be very useful to them. They could even enter the new realm instantly. Sure, Yen had the spirit realm cultivation base. The author of The Blacksmith's Secrets of Success was a divine grade blacksmith. The Upanishads hidden in the formations he wrote were abstrusely complicated. Even if the warriors could only understand a bit, they could reach the wall of their cultivation. Most of the onlookers didn't have a profound realm. Seeing the changing formations, they somehow found it easy to understand a deeper meaning. Gradually, more and more people started to gather their spirit and sat down around the wide ditch. Right after that, Ling Ming and Mo Dun Huan seemed to understand something. They closed their eyes as if they were searching for some knowledge. The warriors who had decided to stay with the Yangs and risk their lives in fighting felt lucky at this moment. They were lucky that they made a wise choice, and they felt lucky that they weren't the runaway betrayers. Surviving the great catastrophe, one would receive happiness later. What Shi Yen said 10 days ago arose in their heads. At this moment, they knew it was true. People now looked at Shi Yen with more respect, no longer surprised or doubtful. They considered this young man their leader, just like Yang Tian Emperor. Their trust in him started to grow in their hearts. At the most difficult time of the human clan in the divine Great Land, this small group of people could find peace in their souls in this desolate forest. They seemed to find nirvana, a resting place for their souls. They gathered and became stronger. Chapter 620, New Situation. Chapter 620, New Situation. In a corner of the perpetual night forest, a group of warriors was building a stone house. It looked plain without any formations or barrier to strengthen it. This house was used only for shelter. Half a month ago, they were struggling in despair as they wanted to leave this place and go to the secret domain of the 7 ancient factions. They thought that they would die shortly. Half a month later, their faces were bright and smiling, when they could have a new life eventually. Everybody was excited and enthusiastic, as if they would never be tired. Have you heard about Li Hai's treasure, which upgraded to rank 1 of spirit grade from the original rank 4 of mortal grade? A teenager at Human Realm talked with his young, eager face, while he was pouring energy into the stone. He wanted to vent out his excitement. Haha, I will be in the next group. I'm so excited. Haha, those stray dogs who left will never know what they have missed. Another young man with a scattering beard laughed evilly. The same conversations arose in every corner. Around a lake with many stone houses surrounding it, a young man sat neatly with a severe countenance. He was making numerous hand seals, falling like constellations into the formation in front of him. Yang Tian Emperor, Shi Jian, Mo Dunhuan, and Ling Ming were waiting, their eyes longing. There it is. Radiant halo bloomed from the formation. The young man was still making more hand seals. He exhaled heavily, but his eyes were bright. Done. Shi Jian couldn't help but step forward. He scooped and observed the formation, but he couldn't see it through. Is it enough to teleport? Little Yen, when did you learn how to create the teleportation formation? Can't explain briefly. Shi Yen smiled brightly. Then he contemplated, his face hesitant. Do you really want to bring Qiao Dao's group here? If they come here, we will have more unpredictable factors. Have you guys decided yet? Just let them come here. Yang Tian Emperor nodded. We don't have enough materials to refine treasures anymore. We still have many warriors waiting for you to refine their treasures. We need to take care of it. Although Qiao Dao's cunning, he has abilities. When he comes, we will be strengthened. Mo Dunhuan and Ling Ming also agreed with him. All right then. Shiryen smiled and didn't say anything else. He closed his eyes to concentrate, urging his soul consciousness. He calibrated the space nodes inside the formation in front of him. Magical light, dots that were as bright as stars emerged, as if they had come from a strange space, floating in the center of the teleportation formation. Shiryan's eyes squinted. All of a sudden, a soul flow that was as strong as a gushing flood lunged directly to the nodes. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Delicate light fibers weaved a fine net above the sacrificial altar. It had a thick mesh, but it looked very orderly. Electric currents shot out like rainbows, while energy waves rippled visibly. The sealed teleportation formation inside a mountain of the northern gem mountain glowed abruptly. Chao Dao's group of warriors had been waiting for so long. Gradually they became desperate. But at this moment they all jolted up with a stirring heart and an excited mind. A shadow slowly appeared. It was Shiryen in the perpetual night forest. His phantom became clear. People then saw him waving, signaling them to come over. Chao Dao was overjoyed, shouting to his men, "Come over here. We'll leave immediately." Shortly, human warriors of the Endless Sea all gathered inside the teleportation formation. A white halo flashed, and everybody disappeared. "Chao Ji!" Yang Tian Emperor smiled, greeting, "Welcome." Chao Dao couldn't help but smile. He nodded to Yang Tian Emperor, then shifted his look to Shiryen. He talked to him with respect. "Thank you." Shiryen was embarrassed, shaking his head. "Don't rush to say thanks. The situation isn't like what you've thought." "Yeah." Chao Dao was surprised. "Let me explain." Yang Tian Emperor frowned. He briefed the situation and then extended one arm, speaking begrudgingly. "You guys can choose to leave. I know the general direction of the 7 ancient factions' secret domain. If you want to go there, I will not compel you." "Arg." "For the payment, I'll take a part of cultivating materials you have." Shiryen beamed a wry smile, pointing at the teleportation formation next to them. "It cost me a lot to build that formation. You guys should make it up for me." Chao Dao kept silent for a while, then spoke up. "Yang Ji, will you give us time to consider? I need to discuss with them." Yang Tian Emperor nodded. "What do you think?" After Chao Dao and the others reached another area, he went straight to the matter. From the current situation, the secret domain of the 7 ancient factions is the safest place. However, Shiryen can always surprise people. When he was in the Endless Sea, he had discovered a whole new world. We aren't familiar with the 7 ancient factions. When we get there, I'm not sure what would happen. It's all because of you that we can survive until this moment. We will follow you." Fan Xiangyan was frank enough to throw back the ball to him. Chao Dao and Fan Xiangyan's group consisted of around 500 warriors. They were all the core members of the Chao family, the Yin-Yang Fairyland, and the Desolate Barbarian sect. Different from the Yang family, they didn't have many external disciples. Their men were all loyal and trustworthy. Well, the ones with different thought were soon trashed away. "Little Lan, what do you think?" Chao Dao frowned. At this moment, he couldn't make the decision shortly. "The only thing I regret the most in my life is that I didn't trust him that year. I couldn't see his potential." A strange light sparkled in Chao Zilan's face, her eyes determined. "This time, I won't make the same mistake." When he had overturned the situation of the Endless Sea, he only had the Sky Realm cultivation base. At that time, peerless warriors in the Endless Sea were at Spirit Realm. Today, he's reached the Spirit Realm, and the experts in the Divine Great Land have the True God Realm cultivation base. How similar is it? I believe he can overturn the whole sky the second time. Chao Dao and Fan Xiangyan were moved. "It's true. Little Land's correct. Your vision is wide, too." Fan Xiang Yun sighed in relief, then shot up from her spot. Although the background has changed, the situation's strangely similar. Moreover, at that time he was alone. Then we should stay here. I hope he can create miracles once again, said Chao Chiu Dao determinedly. Soon they would know how wise their decision was. Seeing Shi Yan refining treasures and his magical technique to upgrade the treasures, and after he said that he could help them refine their treasures too, Chao Chiu Dao and his group of 500 were filled with enthusiasm. Increasing the quality of the secret treasures could enhance the warrior's competence. In this perpetual night forest, where dangers appeared in every corner, having additional power meant having more chances to survive. Anyway, Shi Yan's refining process didn't include only 1 or 2 weapons. He was carrying out a massive-scale refining procedure, including everyone else. This sounded intimidating to them. Added with Chao Chiu Dao's group, they now had around 1,500 warriors. After their treasures and weapons were upgraded, their general power would leap up 1 more level. Great-grandpa, if I bring the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan here, can you arrange for them properly? Shi Yan talked with a serious complexion while glaring at Chao Chiu Dao. Don't worry. People who stay will all follow your decision. They won't oppose us, smiled Yang Tian Emperor. I have no problem with it, said Chao Chiu Dao. Shi Yan nodded, smiling brightly. The future picture will be beyond your imagination. We need to improve the previous operation. Anyway, I don't care about races. I don't bother with the Monster Clan or the Dark Clan. As long as they walk the same way with me, I will protect them. If they can bring benefits to me, I will establish a good relationship with them. From now on, this is my working principle. I don't classify races. I just consider the attitudes and manners. If the alien tribes have a good relationship with me, I'll treat them well. If they aim at me, I'll kill them all. Chao Chiu Dao shuddered in his heart as he felt lucky somehow. Chao Zhilan's eyes brightened with a strange light. She was touched. She suddenly felt that Shi Yan's demeanor was more charming than before. Now he had brave but callous makings that attracted her more. All right. Yang Tian Emperor nodded. I believe in your decision. As long as we can earn benefit and survive, we will do anything. Shi Yan grinned. All of a sudden, he felt this hard situation wasn't unbreakable. 3 days later, the clansmen of the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan moved to this shelter. Since they had talked it through, the ones who decided to stay here understood. They didn't say anything against this move. After the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan arrived, the number of people here had increased to 4,500, including 2,000 clansmen of the Dark Devil clan, 1,000 clansmen of the Winged clan, 1,000 members of the Yang family and the Shi family, and 500 people of Chao Chiu Dao and Fan Xiangyun's group. The alien tribes took account of half the number of the population here, which made the number of the human clan smaller. However, this force was far behind the ancient 7 factions, whether it was the number or the qualification of the warriors. Still, no one had thought that this small force could quickly unite and improve their general competence under Shi Yan's influence in such strenuous situation. Swoosh! A snow-white feather attached with a piece of animal skin shot to an ancient tree where the Winged clan stayed. A member of the Winged clan picked up the leather piece, took a look, then hurried to find Yu Ruo, handing it to her. 15 minutes later, Shi Yan, Yang Tian Emperor, Chao Chiu Dao, Yang Zhua, Shi Jian Dishan, and Yi Tianmo gathered in a stone meeting room by the lake, their faces grim. It's the order of the Monster Clan. I think Fiery Dragon wrote it. He said that if we don't move, he will kill us all 3 days later. Dishan frowned, looking at the vulgar writing, his face cold. Although Fiery Dragon has reached level 9 and is as strong as a true God Realm warrior, he hasn't entered the realm for a long time. I think we can endure a battle with him. Qiao Qiudao nodded. With our competence, when we join hands to deal with Fiery Dragon, even if we get hurt, we won't lose. No, Shurien shook his head. We are not going to fight with them. Among the alien tribes, the monster clan seems easy to contact. We can deal with them. Deal with them. Everybody was stunned. Yeah. Shurian's face darkened as he moved his line of sight to the further area. I think, compared to the monster clan, some people are more wicked. We should maintain our power to deal with the tougher enemies. He was looking in the direction where the 7 ancient factions gathered. Chapter 6:21 Befriend Monsters. Chapter 6:21 Befriend Monsters. The fiery dragon lived in a natural limestone cave in the perpetual night forest. This cave had fiery walls, which were red like blood. The ambience was hot year-round, and the ventilation was horrible. As the fiery flood dragon, who had just leveled up, Fiery Dragon had his intelligence awakened, which made him an official member of the monster clan. However, it was hard to change someone's characteristics in a short time. The limestone he lived was still stinky and dirty, with a pungent smell that always nauseated people. Of course, Fiery Dragon wouldn't bother with these minor details. Quite the contrary, he felt much comfortable in such conditions, and he could relax well. To the human clan, his place was disgusting. In the past, humans who were captured and imprisoned in this limestone cave all died after several days because of the revolting smell. This fiery dragon also had a special smell the humans couldn't endure. Except for the other beasts, the other high-grade creatures couldn't stand his nauseating odor. Inside the spacious natural cave, the fiery flood dragon that was around 300 meters tall was balling its giant body, squinting lazily near the vivid red lava rock. The fiery flame gold lion and the silver-horned giant python were waiting silently near him. This limestone cave was spacious, extending in all directions. Although the scarlet lava rock stood in the middle, it didn't hinder their visions. Not far from them were hundreds of different size beasts all lined up. They were like the guards standing on 2 sides of the place as if they were waiting for something. Master Fiery Dragon, the human called Shi Yan, asked to meet you. A level 7 beast called over from the entrance of the cave with unnatural howls. His voice echoed through the large cave. Bring him in. The fist-sized garnet eyes of the dragon brightened. He spoke with a calm, relaxed voice. His words were clear enough. Shortly, a figure entered the cave through the entrance. After taking 7 turns, he got to the spacious cave where the 3 great beasts stayed. Lying in the center of the cave, on the vivid red lava wall, the giant body of the fiery dragon was like a giant block of rotten meat. Pungent smell exuded from him, permeating the whole place. This cave wasn't a well-ventilated room. Usually, beasts would have an unusual smell. In this cave, besides Fiery Dragon, there were the fiery flame gold lion, the silver-horned giant python, and some rotten organic bodies somewhere. This combined nauseating odor could even shake people's souls. The blood-red eyes of the fiery dragon opened, gazing at the man maliciously. The man was walking deliberately, as if he didn't smell the nauseating scent in this place. He looked pretty relaxed. Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame Gold Lion, and the silver-horned giant python were surprised at first. Afterward, their hostile look faded. Unknowingly, their feeling towards the man who had just visited them was getting better. Naturally, humans hated the smell of beasts. They always considered the inhabited area of the beasts the most disgusting place. Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame Gold Lion, and the silver-horned giant python had communicated with many people. They had also captured a lot and imprisoned them here. No one was an exception. Every human being entering this limestone, no matter he was an ordinary people or a warrior, couldn't stop vomiting. Some with a cunning heart would try to restrain their upset stomach, but they couldn't hide the hatred in their eyes. To high-level demonic beasts like Fiery Dragon, They hated the humans' discrimination the most, as they always thought that humans didn't respect them. Thus, these sort of humans would become their meals. Today, after observing the young man for a while, Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame Gold Lion, and the silver-horned giant python didn't find even a slight bit of loathing or despise on his face. Well, at least they couldn't see it. This pleased the 3 high-level beasts. Their intense anger was calmed down. "Why did you come here?" Fiery Dragon snorted, his voice rumbling like thunder. "I've given you time. Don't try my patience. But because you've come here yourself, I'll give you another chance. Leave quickly, and I won't take this as a grudge anymore." Shi Yan's countenance was faint. He didn't show that he was scared or disdainful. He didn't answer the Fiery Dragon, but asked, "I heard that Master Fiery Dragon has an enemy, the level 9 blood-maned giant ape. I heard that he has reached level 9 earlier than you? Rank 2 of level 9, right?" These days, he had studied the ranking of the beasts. The monster clan also had a classification of the level. Each level had some smaller ranks, just like the different skies of a realm of human warriors' cultivation base. As the Fiery Dragon had just entered level 9, he should be at rank 1. The blood-maned giant ape had reached level 9 for a longer time, so he should be relatively stronger than the Fiery Dragon. The red eyes of Fiery Dragon were suddenly flooded with blood, as if it could drip from the dragon's sockets at any minute. He thundered furiously, "What does it matter to you? I can help Master Fiery Dragon increase your power. Yeah, including them." Shi Yan waved his hand, pointing at the fiery flame gold lion and the silver-horned giant python. "You monster clan don't know how to refine treasures, but I do. If you have a good weapon, when you compete for the territory with the blood-maned giant ape, you can be more certain about your triumph. Refining treasures." Fiery Dragon was dazed. Then he shouted indignantly, "Our bodies are the best weapons. We don't need to use external things. Kid, you've wasted a good plan this time." "I mean refining your body," Shi Yan laughed. "Master Fiery Dragon, if the horns on your head are refined, the power they release will be much more tremendous and pure. Yeah, I'm well aware how dangerous your limbs are, but my point here is your bodies." Fiery Dragon and the other 2 beasts were stunned. "Will you let me demonstrate?" Shi Yan smiled again. Fiery Dragon and the 2 beasts nodded instinctively as they wanted to see what trick this human had. "Call it here." Shi Yan had a plan before, pointing at a level 6 sharp claw blue hunter not far from him. The beast arrived. Shi Yan's storage ring flashed. More than 10 materials emerged. He refined them into a strange potion, then poured onto the pair of the monster's sharp claws and started to refine them. Fiery Dragon and the other 2 beasts observed him. After a long time, Shi Yan finished. The sharp claw blue hunter now had a pair of snow-white claws seeming like exquisite long swords. Cold light radiated from them as a sharp and cold halo moved along the claws. The Fiery Dragon sent his thought to the beast. Next, it stabbed one claw into the rock wall. Just like a pointy knife pierced through tofu, its claw sank into the rock wall instantly, leaving only its arm outside. Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame Gold Lion, and Silver-horned Giant Python were suddenly stirred up. The unique heavy breathing of demonic beasts arose in the cave, which showed their excitement. "You are a human, but you dare cooperate with us. Aren't you be afraid of getting killed if someone knows your little secret?" Fiery Dragon pondered for a while and then said with a surprised tone, "The hatred between races in the divine Great Land now is as deep as the Antiquity era. Our monster clan and your human clan are the archenemies. Do you dare to do so?" Shi Yan shrugged. "I did that." Fiery Dragon and the Fiery Flame Gold Lion observed him silently. No one knew what they were thinking. "Well, if you reject it, it's okay." Shi Yan smiled coldly. I can always visit the blood-maned giant ape. Perhaps he'll be interested in my offer. Master Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame Gold Lion, and the silver-horned giant python shouted. Abruptly, Fiery Dragon shot out the fierce light everywhere. A formidable energy wave rippled from him, as if he wanted to crush Sir Yen into pieces. I want to make it clear that if I dare to come here, I'm not afraid of you. Although my powers aren't much strong, you guys can't just swallow us that easy. Sir Yen stood firm. I think you get it. Otherwise, you should have attacked us already, without just threatening like that. You have the blood-maned giant ape as your enemy, and we have our enemies too. We can cooperate to win. If you want to have a bloody fight between us, it won't benefit either side. What do you want? Fiery Dragon stayed quiet for a while and then asked. Not much. We need peace. We don't want to be attacked in your territory. And if I help you increase your power, you have to pay me big. Sir Yen curled his lips. I know there are so many precious cultivating materials in the perpetual night forest. And you, of course, know which ones are the useful ones. Haha, you can use them only after I've processed them. At this moment, besides me, there should be no other human blacksmith who dares to cooperate with you, especially at this critical time. What do you say? Deal! The fiery flame pondered for a while and then thundered with his husky voice. Deal! Sir Yen wore a smiling face, as he was actually joyful. Inside the limestone was a spacious fiery cave, as big as a football court. Strange and rare cultivating materials piled up like mountains. Dark blue water jade, phoenix bone stone, soul-nurturing tricolored grass, thick earth topaz. The rare cultivating materials were laid like trash in many corners, covered with a thick layer of dust. Without a close look, it was hard to identify these were all the treasures that all warriors would drool over. Fiery Dragon took Sir Yen to this place. At first glance, Sir Yen was stunned as if he got hit. Our monster clan has great longevity. Take me as an example. I've been living for more than 1,000 years, Fiery Dragon said. During this endless period, we got to know that human warriors always wanted to collect many things in the perpetual night forest. Although I don't know their functions and details, I know they are precious. Usually my men and I will collect some. After more than 1,000 years, we have a big collection. Sometimes we will exchange with human warriors. Anyway, in most cases, we will just kill and eat them. Sir Yen shook his head and beamed a forced smile. But he didn't say anything, walking directly to those piles of dazzlingly colorful materials. All of a sudden, some pieces of strange wood in a corner came into his sight. Those timbers were like they were struck by lightning. Thunder and lightning power seemed apparent on them. The wood grain on these logs was both natural and exquisite. The wood grain looked like a natural formation, which dazzled him. Thunder, which wood? A light flashed in his head. Sure, Yan's fingers were trembling, as he couldn't restrain the joy in his heart. He laughed contentedly. Chapter 6:22 Good Friendship. Chapter 6:22 Good Friendship. The dark blue water jade was one of the best auxiliary materials to refine treasures of water class. It could increase the treasure's solubility and provide abundant power, which was precious. The phoenix bone stone was extremely hard, except for some special earth flames. Human flames in blacksmith's body couldn't even melt it. However, after the phoenix bone stone was melted into a hot fluid, it could increase the sharpness of weapons. Nurturing tricolored grass wasn't a material to refine treasures, but it was a primary ingredient of the original soul pellet. Also, it was a rare, precious herb. Cultivating materials in different colors and distinctive shapes piled up everywhere unsorted. Without attentive searching, people couldn't see how valuable these dust-covered piles were, especially the thunder witch wood. The thunder, which, wood, was a dried branch of a 10,000-year ancient tree. Under constant striking of lightning and thunder from the nine skies over thousands of years, it was generated gradually. Under the refining of lightning and thunder, the nature of the wood would be changed. That log of wood would have the thunder and lightning power with an exquisite, natural wood grain. The wood grain gradually formed vegetation essence and the thunder and lightning aura. This was the essential wooden material for some unique items. Thunder, which, wood, was one of the three primary materials to conduct heaven flame, refining divine technique. Shi Yan had thought that it would be strenuous to find the thunder which would due to its distinctive nature. He had never expected that he could find them in the beast territory. He almost jumped up in joy. The fiery dragon was a creature that could live several thousand years. The perpetual night forest had various precious natural resources and excellent materials scattered everywhere. They attracted many warriors of the martial spirit palace. However, of course, warriors couldn't be familiar with the forest as much as the beasts were. Where the rarest and the most precious treasures of this perpetual night forest were, the high-rank demonic beasts would know clearly. Fiery Dragon had collected his treasures over 1,000 years. He'd also robbed many warriors. It was natural that he could gather such big amount of cultivating materials. Shi Yan's eyes brightened. He kept walking around the cave, and he couldn't hide his compliments. Sometimes he hissed as if he had gone crazy already. Fiery Dragon stood by the entrance of the cave, releasing an immense red halo. His grand body started to shrink. Magical earth and heaven energy distorted, moving rapidly in his body. Not long after that, the dragon's body had shrunk to human size. He had transformed into a mature, majestic human with a red face and a pair of fiery eyes. The man had one horn jutting out of his forehead for around 1/2 meter. Flames were twirling around that long horn, covering the miraculous flame patterns on it. Fine beast skin carvings meandered and expanded in his entire body, as though they were his natural costume, which could make people drop their jaws in awe. However, the stinky smell of Fiery Dragon stayed the same. It always nauseated people, giving fluttering butterflies in their stomach. That was how the Monster Clan was. Whether it could transform or not, this feature would never change. Anyway, they didn't care about their odor that much, as they always felt comfortable with it. The human form of Fiery Dragon was a little bit odd. He had a fluttering hair that looked like flames, and his face was really red. He walked to Shi Yan and thundered, "So, are the materials I've accumulated enough to refine my body?" When the dragon turned into human, his characteristics seemed to have a little, miraculous change. He pointed at the soul horn on his head and asked anxiously, "This horn of mine is my crest. After you refine me, would it become ugly? Would it affect my whole aesthetic and markings?" Shi Yan was surprised. He contemplated for a while and then shook his head. "No, after my refining, you will become more handsome and extraordinary than you are now. Even when you show your true form, you can show people your imposing, majestic markings." Fiery Dragon turned his head satisfyingly. "You don't make me hate you. As long as you cooperate well with me, I, Fiery Dragon, won't let you suffer a loss." While he was talking, he took out a bronze mirror from nowhere, dedicatedly observing his image in the mirror. He frowned and then said, "Human body isn't so comfortable. It isn't as strong as my true form either. Anyway, this shape looks really handsome. I can't deny that for sure." Shi Yan felt funny. He didn't expect that after Fiery Dragon had turned into human shape, his nature seemed to change a little bit. He became more pleased with himself. "Although you have many kinds of materials here, it still lacks some. I have to go back to prepare. I'll be back soon." Shi Yan frowned. He thought that he needed to comfort his side first to prevent the Yangs from taking any unusual action. You should be hurried. I don't have much time. You must prepare everything properly and quickly." Fiery Dragon swung his arm, indicating that Shi Yin should go and return here as fast as possible. Shi Yin smiled and nodded. Suddenly he let out a dry cough, talking gingerly. "Hey, I need you to make a deposit." The Yang family still had many treasures needed to refine. It wasn't that he didn't have enough energy, but it was the lack of materials. "Deposit?" Fiery Dragon thundered angrily. "You want a deposit? You haven't done anything yet." Cough, cough. Sure, Yin also recognized he was a bit hurried. "Ah, you misunderstood it. I want the deposit to test the quality of the materials beforehand. I will never break our deal midway. My people are all in your territory. Don't worry." Fiery Dragon rolled his eyes and grunted, as if he was considering whether Shi Yin was trustworthy or not. After a long while, Fiery Dragon thought that with his power of a level 9 beast, Shi Yin couldn't trick him. Thus, he nodded to allow Shi Yin to take a part of the deposit and leaving. Shi Yin wasn't greedy. He took different materials with Fiery Dragon's witness. Then he stooped to press his excited heart, leaving with satisfaction. Seemed like Fiery Dragon didn't know the value of the Thunder Witch wood. When Shi Yin put the logs into his storage ring, Fiery Dragon didn't even raise his eyebrow. The dragon was a little bit surprised, as he thought that his vision was a little bit narrow. The shelter of the Yang family. Yang Tian Emperor, Cao Qiu Dao, and Shi Jian were waiting with many worries. Their faces gradually darkened. Especially Shi Jian, he kept walking back and forth. He was worried, as if he had a flame burning his heart. He couldn't help but scream all the time. "Something unexpected has happened. That kid likes to show off. Not good, we can't stay idle." Among them, Shi Jian was the one who loved Shi Yin the most. He was always worried about the young man. Seeing him leave for quite a long time, he couldn't sit still anymore. Shi Jian was constantly shouting, as he regretted he couldn't attack the Fiery Dragon's territory. Yang Tian Emperor wasn't moved. He sat there calmly like a mountain. Cao Qiu Dao squinted. His gossamer aura fluttered here and there, but he didn't say anything. All of a sudden, screaming and screeching rose from outside together, with the noise of busting and hustling people. Yang Tian Emperor disappeared. The fiery flame gold lion and 10 other level 6 or level 7 beasts were escorting Shi Yin, crushing the ancient trees around to get to the Yangs amidst a bloody scent. Shi Yin was riding the fiery flame gold lion. His face was calm and he was smiling. He seemed to discuss something with the fiery flame gold lion. The arrogant, tyrannical lion behaved well. Its big eyes even showed that it was servile to someone. "Don't worry. I will refine you well. I'll do my best." Seeing the Yang family appear in his vision, under their eyes gawking with fear, Shi Yin patted the fiery flame gold lion at his forehead. He promised the gold lion and then jumped off. People of the Yang family, the Shi family, the Chao family, the Devil Dark clan, and the Winged clan flooded out from the corners near the lake. They were all stunned, looking at him, not knowing what was going on. "You guys should go back first. In 3 days max, I'll visit you guys there." Shi Yin laughed cheerily, advising the beasts in front of him. Everybody else was dumbstruck. All beasts had intelligence, as they nodded in unison. Then, as he had advised, they retreated orderly. They seemed to escort Shi Yin back home, instead of forcing and monitoring him as they had imagined. Many beautiful young maidens were stunned before they started to cheer up. They had thought that under the beast's threat and force, they had to move one more time to another shelter. Unexpectedly, after Shi Yin visited the beasts, they now had a new hope. The whole picture had overturned to a good result they had never imagined. However, what surprised them was still behind. The fiery flame gold lion left. Shi Yin rose one arm and announced, We will start to refine treasures again. Weapons that haven't been improved, you guys should give me all." Cheers reverberated like thunder by the lake. Everybody was stirred up, complimenting him excitedly. Xiao Dao's squinting eyes slightly opened. He looked at the young man with surprise, nodding in approval in his heart. All of a sudden, he thought that their decision was perhaps correct. Maybe this kid can lead us to claim a new world. He thought as his face was struck discreetly. At the entrance of the perpetual night forest, a silhouette hovered like a night owl in a deep place of the thick forest. More than 10 warriors of the Ghostmark clan at Spirit Realm and Sky Realm were standing underneath the man. They were waiting for something. Soon, a Ghostmark clan's young man flew out of the thick forest. He kneeled down and greeted with a low voice. "Grand Sage." Comoros was hovering in the forest. He nodded and then frowned. "You've been in the perpetual night forest for half a year. Do you have any useful information?" "I can't detect the precise direction of the secret domain. Members of the 7 ancient factions don't always stay inside. They often go out and operate in the perpetual night forest." That man was still on his knee as he was reporting the situation with a face that had been through wind and frost. "A small unknown force? Survivors in the perpetual night forest? Why didn't they go to the secret domain?" Comoros knitted his brows as he couldn't understand. "Grand Sage, I found something strange. Among them, there's a clan called the Dark Devil Clan. They look very similar to us. Except for the innate tattoo, their aura is astonishingly consistent with us." The man kept silent for a while, contemplated, then reported. Grand Sage Comoros of the Ghostmark clan trembled on listening to his report. He opened his eyes and then shouted, "What?" "My words are true. If any of them aren't proven, Grand Sage can sentence me to death." The man lifted his head, his face fearful. "Until now, I didn't believe it. But it's true. And Shuryen, that brat, is with them. The clan that looks similar to us considers him their master. Get me there. Quick!" Comoros shouted sharply, his face dark and ugly. Chapter 6, 23. Demonic Beast Sheds the Mortal Skin. Chapter 6, 23. Demonic Beast Sheds the Mortal Skin. In the center of a scorching fire, see deep inside the limestone cave, laid a giant dragon covered in thick beast scales. It was screeching and howling fiercely. Flows of blood-like flame covered the scale all over his body. They were blazing, overflowing towards his head, sizzling and getting into his horn. His soul horn sparkled like red melting iron, while scarlet flames were emitting continuously. A neat silhouette was floating above the fire sea. He was waiting in silence, his face stern. He was making some mysterious hand seals, which seemed to have their own lives as they swam lively like fishes in the fire sea. The temperature of the limestone cave was increasing unceasingly. Feeble light sparkled in the fiery flame gold lion's and the silver-horned giant python's eyes as they were watching from other places. They didn't dare to breathe loudly, as if they were afraid that would cause some bad influence. Blood-red flames moved randomly, like lightning on fiery dragon. Each flame flower had a streak of a strange light. This strange light was the essence after the refining materials were melted, which had unmeasurably magical effects. Flames guided those strange beams of light, seeping through the slits between the dragon's scales to enter his body, which increased his body's tenaciousness to an unimaginable degree. An immense fiery halo expanded like a natural light cage and shot backward from the dragon's scaled body. In the place submerged in red flames like this cave, the giant dragon's body wasn't significant, but the heat it was emitting was intimidating. The fiery flame gold lion and the silver-horned giant python suddenly had their minds clear. They held their breaths, while radiant light sparkled from their eyes. Their soul fluctuated as their hearts became restless. The fiery dragon was screeching painfully. Thundering explosions echoed in the cave, that even burst off the rigid rock wall of the cave. The man hovering above the fire sea kept his posture indifferently and didn't move, as though he was a statue sitting neatly in the air. Even the hand seals he was making were ceased. Shortly he opened his eyes. Freezing electric currents shot out from deep inside his eyes, weaving in the void. These currents were added with imposing soul fluctuations, pouring furiously into the fire sea. So many treasures of heaven and earth that melted and refined in the fire sea now received the life seal. They transformed into beams of light and rumblingly overwhelmed the fiery flame, flood Dragon's body, without even a drop remaining. The flames shrank gradually. After 10 breathings, the fire sea vanished, leaving only one pure fire flower bouncing and dancing before it disappeared into an ancient blood-red ring on the young man's finger. The heated limestone cave gradually restored its quietness. People could even hear the noise when a needle fell to the ground. The giant body of the fiery dragon had a garnet halo of fiery flame moving on his body in the center of the scorching lava rock bed. This halo was dazzling like a strange meteor. His natural scale armor was covered with a layer of light energy, which actually looked like some liquid lingering on the dragon, as it was still releasing the extreme heat. The single horn on his head dazzled, as if it was an earth-shaking divine weapon that could even shake people's hearts. Just like the sunlight, it was hard to conceal. Fiery dragon balled his body, breathing slowly as he was sensing the changes of his body and adjusting the rhythm of his energy to be consistent with the energy of heaven and earth. Fiery dragon seemed to have a flash of recognition, as a light of wisdom sparkled in his giant eyes. Time seemed to stop right at this moment. Afterward, the giant body of the fiery dragon shook continually. Dirty black contaminants seeped through the gaps between his scales. A stinky, pungent smell that could turn people's heart and lungs upside down permeated the whole place. Even the fiery flame gold lion and the silver-horned giant python, which were the beasts themselves, couldn't endure it. They had almost plugged their nostrils and ran away. This was the first time they realized how uncomfortable it was for humans to stay near the beasts. Only the fiery dragon didn't notice anything unconsciously when he eventually woke up. At first, he was astounded. Then he laughed contentedly, his laughter soaring up to the sky and shaking the entire limestone cave. "Clean it up." Fiery dragon stopped laughing. His garnet eyes raked through the silver-horned giant python and assigned it nonchalantly. This imposing, solemn manner was inborn. Although he didn't intend it, it could storm to the deep place in people's hearts, making their souls recognize his existence. The silver-horned giant python suddenly got it. It stayed dumbstruck for half a moment before screaming with fright. "Master Fiery Dragon, you have shed your mortal skin?" When demonic beast completed its shedding process, its aura and blood would be refined thoroughly. At that time, the nauseating odor of the beasts would be washed away. Quite the contrary, they would have a pleasant aroma. That was the monster clan. Only if the beast could shed its mortal skin could it finally become a member of the monster clan. Its body and blood would have a miraculous change. Its demon power could move easily in its body, and the monster could urge its power at any minute. The challenging gap between the demonic beasts and the monsters was this mortal skin shedding process. Fiery Dragon cracked a big, wild smile. In his laughter, his giant body shrank, forming the shape of human flesh body. He looked as imposing as a mountain, with blood-red skin and a beautiful, radiant horn on his forehead. Taking out a bronze mirror, Fiery Dragon observed his new appearance seriously. He couldn't help but laugh contentedly again. "Mwahaha! Not bad. Really not bad. You, fella, you have good tricks. From now on, you are my friend." My real friend. Fiery Flame Gold Lion and the Silverhorned were shivering in thrill. A powerful desire sparkled in their eyes, like a raging fire that could burn the young man. The Silverhorn giant python was hesitant. It swept the tail, which was as big as a tree trunk, over the place. A strong wind blew through, washing away the contaminants from the fiery dragon's body instantly. The materials in your cave are consumed for the most part. Only to refine your body, I almost used them all. Retrieving the earth flame, Shi Yan was still relaxed. Suddenly he said, "Actually, I can help you refine a good weapon if you have enough materials with fire attributes." Well, yeah, in just a short time I can help Fiery Flame Lion and Silverhorned Python refine their bodies. We don't have enough materials. Fiery Flame Gold Lion and Silverhorned Giant Python shifted anxiously. Their eyes gazed at Fiery Dragon while crying. "Master Fiery Dragon, do you have any solution?" Fiery Dragon swung his arm to calm Fiery Flame and Silverhorn down. "As long as we have enough materials, you will proceed, right?" "In principle, yeah," Shi Yan smiled humbly. "Hey, the Blood-Mane Giant Ape is also a level 9 beast. I think he has collected cultivating materials for so many years like you. So it shouldn't be less than your collection, right?" The Fiery Flame Lion and the Silverhorned Python had their eyes sparkled while they looked frightened. Fiery Dragon was bewildered for a while. He frowned but didn't say anything. After a long while he spoke up. I'm not sure." Shi Yan smiled as he knew that Beast had misunderstood his idea. "I don't ask you to attack him. I meant the Blood-Mane Giant Ape is also from your clan, right? He has collected a lot of materials, perhaps?" Fiery Dragon was surprised. He nodded, but then his eyes flared with a brutal light. Are you going to help Blood-Mane Giant Ape to refine his body too?" "What's the matter?" asked Shi Yan. Fiery Dragon got enraged immediately. "That **starred is my archenemy. He always wants to claim my territory. I will never let him improve his power," he said resolutely. His face reddened and distorted in anger. Only he knew how tremendous the benefits his body got from Shi Yan's refining process were. Shedding mortal skin was just a byproduct. The current power of his body was increased at least one level. Even if he had to fight with the Blood-Mane Giant Ape, he would have a chance to win. The Perpetual Night Forest is so vast, but does it have only the 2 strong members of the monster clan, including you and the Blood-Mane Giant Ape? Don't you too have other enemies?" Shi Yan beamed a smile. At this moment, Fiery Dragon was startled and discolored. As though he was thinking of something perilous, his eyes shrank, and he even retracted his neck. "Of course not. There's someone stronger than us. At present, the Perpetual Night Forest isn't a peaceful place. Members of the other clans often operate here. Besides Human Clan, members of the Demon Clan and the Ghostmark Clan are also present. If you can exchange refining materials with the Blood-Mane Giant Ape, both of you will receive bigger benefits. It's good for you too." Shi Yan continued to persuade him. The amount and types of cultivating materials in the Fiery Dragon's cave had seriously surprised him. Thinking about the Blood-Mane Giant Ape, he could almost confirm that what the other treasured were also rich and full of variety. Perhaps he had stored many things Shi Yan had desired. At this moment, he didn't care about principle. As long as he could improve his competence, he didn't care if he had to engage in business with the pagans. Not only did he want to have a good relationship with Fiery Dragon, but he also wanted to get to the other hotshots around through Fiery Dragon. As long as they became his business partners, Shi Yan could collect the most valuable cultivating materials. "Currently, I don't want to talk with that Blood-Mane Giant Ape. We should slow down for a while." Fiery Dragon kept silent for a while. "If the cultivating materials are not enough, I know a place we can take some." That place is a little bit dangerous. Perhaps you would like it. Where? Shi Yan's eyes brightened. Indeed, he was interested in such a place. It is also in the perpetual night forest. But it isn't in my territory. Fiery Dragon contemplated for a while. It's in that blood-maned giant ape's territory. However, he has never dared to reach there. As you know blacksmithing and the formation, perhaps you can get in. Is it related to the human clan? Shi Yan's spirit was high. Yes. All right, take me there. If we find something, we will gain big benefits. We should avoid that blood-maned giant ape. He's not someone we can provoke. Currently, I don't want to fight with him. I'll listen to you. Shi Yan and Fiery Dragon planned their next steps. However, a sound stone in Shi Yan's storage ring started to send a fierce soul fluctuation before they started to move. Shi Yan discolored in fear. He hurried to take the sound stone and sink his soul into it. Fiery Dragon didn't say anything, just watching him in silence. When he saw Shi Yan's worried complexion, he knitted his brows. What's happened? People of the Ghostmark clan are in my shelter. They aren't so friendly. I have to go back. Sure, Yen put the sound stone away, waving his hands and then disappearing. Ghostmark clan, Fiery Dragon was surprised. He hesitated for a while, then assigned his guards. Fiery Flame, Silverhorned, you take our soldiers. We will go there and see. Master, we aren't involved with the Ghostmark clan. We don't need to go there, Silverhorned reminded him. I know it isn't necessary, but that kid is useful to us. I want him to live well. Fiery Dragon snorted. Then he checked his appearance a little bit. After he felt he looked perfect, he left the limestone cave. Chapter 6:24 Breaking Rules. Chapter 6:24 Breaking Rules. Comoros was hovering above the Yang family's area, his face grimaced. Not far beneath him were the two leaders of the Dark Devil clan, Etianemo and Kaba. Their complexions weren't so good as they were looking at him as well in silence. Chao Chiu Dao and Yang Tian Emperor put on a solemn face. Electric currents were moving in their sleeves, and essence chi filled their secret treasures. Their tunics fluttered even though there was no wind. Their aura was gloomy and distant. This was going to be a big tense fight. After Comoros arrived, he asked Etianemo and Kaba to take up the Dark Devil clan and leave with him. However, Etianemo and Kaba had denied. Comoros kept silent the whole time. However, his calm aura gradually surged like the torrential river. It was increasing unceasingly. Among this crowd, Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Chiu Dao had experienced fighting with the peak of spirit realm experts. When Comoros appeared here, they immediately knew the old man had crossed the boundary of the spirit realm, entering the true God realm. That was why Yang Tian Emperor and Chao Chiu Dao didn't dare to take action rashly. They chose to notify Shi Yan first. Although they weren't sure if Shi Yan had a countermeasure, they knew he had many secrets. Perhaps he could overturn this difficult situation. Grand Sage Comoros had never felt so painful as he had today. Their noble members of the Ghostmark clan had never thought of submitting to human clan, even if they were about to be extinguished. They had lived and survived, struggling in the hope of being revived one day. Although Etianemo and Kaba's group didn't have the ghost scripture tattoo on their bodies, their unique aura and physique showed that they were from a branch of the Ghostmark clan. The blood flowing in their bodies had started from the same origin. However, their fellows had denied walking on the same path with them, as they were persistent to be with a human kid. This was humiliation, the humiliation of the entire Ghostmark clan. I don't care what you've been through. This time I come and meet you here, I won't let you live this shameful life anymore. Comoros took a deep breath as his face became sinister. I give you one day to prepare. At that time, you go with me. or I will destroy all of you shameless people." Then Comoros tried to press down his discontent, turning around to leave. However, at this moment, Shi Yan suddenly descended in a flash of electric current, appearing 10 zhang away from him. Comoros' eyes shrank while a murderous aura shot out from his eyes. He thundered, "Kid, you dare to come here? When we were at the shady firmament old mound, many of my fellows were killed. Even me. You've attacked us maliciously. Do you want to die?" When they were in the shady firmament old mound, his power hadn't recovered yet, but he had taken risks and attacked Shi Yan. At that time he hurt his soul. From that day, Comoros remembered Shi Yan. He regretted that he couldn't kill him earlier. If Bao Ao hadn't advised him beforehand, he would have taken action immediately when he saw Shi Yan. Shi Yan gathered his spirit, holding the Sky Destroyer tightly in his hand. The 3 bone thorns he had forged were floating behind him, while pallid mist of the negative energy meandered around his body unceasingly. They now looked like evil tentacles. Shi Yan's entire body had a strange and evil aura. He didn't know of the conversation between Bao Ao and Comoros. The experience in the shady firmament old mound told him that this grand sage of the Ghostmark clan was the peerless expert at the true God realm. He was strong enough to encounter any leaders of the 7 ancient factions in the divine Great Land. Thus, when Shi Yan arrived, he had prepared to have a bloody fight. "You Ghostmark clan, why don't you stay in the shady firmament old mound? What do you come to the perpetual night forest for? Even if you want to do something, you should keep your eyes on the 7 ancient factions, not us." As Shi Yan found that Comoros didn't want to attack him, he relaxed his nerves a bit. "Them." Comoros pointed at Tianmo and Kaba, speaking coldly. "Although they aren't from the main bloodline of my clan, and they don't have the inheritance, they're still of the same origin as us. I come here to take them back with us. As long as you don't interfere, I will erase the grudge we've made at the shady firmament old mound. From now on, I won't trouble you any more." "Young Master Yen," Tianmo and Kaba shouted in unison. Shi Yan frowned, faintly talking to them. "You can decide yourself. We pledge that we will follow you even if we have to die." Tianmo and Kaba expressed themselves at the same time. Shi Yan cracked a smile silently, looking at Comoros. "Have you heard that?" Comoros' face distorted, while his eyes sparkled like viper's eyes. He nodded and said, "Then I will wash the humiliation which is you." He didn't wait for one day, as he had said, taking action all of a sudden. The seal in his palm was like a maze of formations. Under an immense, vibrating light, it expanded to a miraculous barrier, slowly falling from the sky. Cold, mysterious Yin energy moved in the sky, overflowing from everywhere and pouring into the barrier. The barrier then emitted a fluctuation that could break souls, drifting away lives. With some earth-destructive Upanishads, it was expanding silently. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Strange noises echoed in the void, while branches of ancient trees above their heads quietly turned into ashes. Light of the sun, moon, and stars was shining, but it couldn't pierce through the barrier, which made it more perfect. People couldn't see any leaks or cracks. It was the exterminating mark aimed at the souls. The coverage of this barrier wasn't big. It had just barricaded the members of the Dark Devil Clan. Under the energy waves of the barrier, members of the Dark Devil Clan, including Tianmo and Kaba, couldn't move. Their soul power seemed to be chained. If they urged their power, their head would receive a head-splitting pain. The eyes of Tianmo and Kaba bulged, their faces filled with fear as they felt the temperature of their bodies decreasing. Comoros was the grand sage of the Ghostmark clan who kept the Yin written charm scripture. Of course, he knew which barrier was the best to deal with his own kind. When the old man took action, he used the fierce attack on Tianmo and Kaba, leaving them no way to resist. Yang Tian Emperor and Cao Qiu Dao looked at Shi Yan. Sure, Yan nodded quietly. Crack! He shouted all of a sudden as his soul consciousness shook furiously. Light blades that naked eyes couldn't see rocketed to the sky. A space power that could tear every kind of barrier appeared between his two palms. The void above the Dark Devil clan was torn apart, revealing a 5-colored crack. An aura that could swallow every creature or object stormed out from the cracks, as numerous light spots exploded. The barrier Comoros had condensed looked as if it had fallen into a bottomless abyss, disappearing instantly. Right at that moment, Fiery Dragon and Fiery Flame, Silverhorned, had just arrived at the scene. From a far distance, Fiery Dragon discolored, his face bewildered. Master Fiery Dragon, what's that? Fiery Flame gulped, his face disbelieving. Space power, Fiery Dragon confirmed. The so-called Great Space Fission, if nothing unexpected, is because of Shi Yan. All of the alien tribes, well, we should thank him. Fiery Flame and Silverhorned nodded continually, as they thought that Shi Yan would refine their bodies, so of course they had to thank him a lot. You. Comoros was astounded, his face twisted. In the shady firmament old mound, you used this technique to dissolve our attack, and you had even hurt my soul. After Shi Yan had torn space to solve Comoros' attack, he had consumed half of his energy. He was pale, beaming a forced smile. I don't want to fight to the death with you. I just want to live in peace. Don't force me, or else. We will hide in the space crack together. An expert specialized in space power, when he decided to perish together, could be a nightmare of all enemies. In the history of the Grace mainland, there was a warrior cultivating space power. When he got besieged by many other experts, as he knew he couldn't escape, he paid a painful price of burning his soul to rupture the whole space, making many space slits to bury himself and all of his enemies. Warriors who were cultivating space power, if they wanted to die together, could always drag the higher realm opponents to death. Of course, Comoros knew the evil feature of space power. When he was about to launch the second strike, he couldn't help but hesitate. Right at this moment, Fiery Dragon suddenly barged in. He walked to the front of Shi Yan, cleared his throat, and then thundered. You old man of the Ghost Mark clan, Shi Yan is my distinguished guest. You shouldn't dream to mess up here. If you dare kill people here, I will make you lose your face. While Fiery Dragon was talking, he had returned to his true form. Fire flared up from his entire body. His horn was polished and shining, as his energy surged vehemently. As his scales moved, light waves rippled out like water. All made him look imposingly overwhelming, like a divine beast. Comoros' face got stiff. He dully looked at Fiery Dragon as his face became more grimaced. You have also befriended him? Don't you know that he's human and you are a beast of the monster clan? Of course I know it. After Fiery Dragon had transformed, his voice was more echoing and rumbling, which could even slam people's eardrums. I don't care about the human clan or the Ghost Mark clan. Who can benefit me? That one is Fiery Dragon's friend. Shameless. Comoros was so indignant that he was shivering. Do you still have any moral principles of the monster clan? You are a beast, but you are befriending a human. Do you know what you are doing? Old man, don't babble. I must protect this kid. Fiery Dragon didn't bother with him. I know you have the second sky of True God Realm cultivation base, but you shouldn't think that you can do anything you want here. Mwahaha. Although I've just reached level 9, I'm not afraid of you. I think you can see my markings, right? Do you know how strong I am now? Fiery Dragon was moving and shaking his body contentedly. Flame light expanded everywhere. He looked a bit narcissistic. Comoros changed his complexion. He gritted his teeth indignantly, glaring at Shi Yan. Wait for me. Then he turned around and disappeared like light gray smoke. Shi Yan, I've helped you threaten the strong enemy away. How do you prepare to thank me? Fiery Dragon waved his tail, looking at Shi Yan delightedly, talking as if he was showing his merit. You have to join us for that event. We have to go together. And you have to agree to. Got it, Shi Yan sighed. He shook his head as he felt amused. Don't worry. I know my grudge and gratitude are different. You should prepare. We will go there shortly. It seems weird these days. Perhaps the seal is about to break. You should be hurried, urged Fiery Dragon. Shi Yan was surprised as curiosity swelled in his heart. Chapter 6, 25, Mirror Lake. Chapter 6, 25, Mirror Lake. After the great change of heaven and earth's energy, the sun, the moon, and the stars didn't take turns to shine in the sky anymore. More and more strange mysteries were found in this vast continent. Alien tribes came out of nowhere and became the overlord of the whole continent. The previous rulers were chased away, and they could only retract their heads, hiding in the secret domain. Human clan declined while alien tribes thrived. The known rules were broken. Many forbidden places became vital again, nurturing magical changes, making the divine great land change further. Ancient civilizations were unsealed and refuge tribes returned. Many events which shouldn't have occurred revealed themselves one after another. When Shi Yan listened to Fiery Dragon's description, he wasn't so surprised. Another place in the divine great land had exposed its magical mysteries due to the change of heaven and earth. Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame, and Silverhorn took the lead. They were really cautious, as they were afraid they could wake the blood-maned giant ape in his territory. Shi Yan took precautions as well. He concealed his aura and calmed down his soul fluctuations, not daring to sense wantonly. Blood-maned giant ape's level was higher than the Fiery Dragon. In the perpetual night forest, he was a truly dangerous character. Among the beasts of the monster clan, his fame was impressive. Usually, no one dared to provoke him. Of course, Shi Yan didn't want to fight to death with him. Shi Yan wanted Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan to escort him. These two people had a profound cultivation base and various experiences. They would be a big help on this trip. Fiery Dragon didn't want that, but he had to agree begrudgingly. Anyway, Fiery Dragon was a monster. It was hard for him to go with Shi Yan already. With Yang Tian Emperor and Di Shan accompanying, when other members of the monster clan found that it would be hard for him to establish good relationships with other beasts in the perpetual night forest. This group of human and monster moved forward. They avoided the beasts which submitted to the blood-maned giant ape and took the way around to reach the target. Half a day later, Fiery Dragon sighed as he took in the faint smell of water. We're almost there. Shi Yan was struck, his face smiling. Seems we're lucky. We didn't encounter any henchmen of that blood-maned giant ape. Otherwise, we would be in big trouble. Fiery Dragon shot a strange light from his eyes, looking at Shi Yan oddly. Hey, you want to meet blood-maned, right? Why do you say so? Shi Yan was surprised. If he appears, perhaps you can form a good relationship with him. You want to refine his body, just like you did for me, right? Grunted Fiery Dragon. Shi Yan was stunned. He smiled broadly. Well, I do have this thought, but it isn't strong. I'm not sure if the blood-maned giant ape could be like you. I don't know if he would agree to cooperate with human or not. Haha, I'm good recently. As long as you and I cooperate well, I don't think I need to deal with blood-maned. The message hidden in his words was, if you don't cooperate with me well, I will find blood-maned and make a deal with him. Fiery Dragon wasn't stupid, and he understood that. He mumbled for a while, then spoke up again more solemnly. Among the monster clan, there aren't many wise beasts like me. You shouldn't keep that thought in your head. Otherwise, you can't have anything, and you'll hurt yourself too. Of course, I know Master Fiery Dragon's the most practical beast, and you are the best ally. Shi Yin laughed. Fiery Dragon knew Shi Yin actually didn't think what he said, but he ignored it, just laughing as if he had his own ideas. Fiery Flame and Silverhorn were cautious enough not to intervene them. They kept their mouths shut, listening to the two's conversation. Light of anxiety sparkled in their eyes. Their bodies hadn't been refined yet, and they hadn't shed their mortal skin either. Of course, they didn't dare to cause grudge against Shi Yin. They just wanted to make the relationship between Shi Yin and Fiery Dragon the best. Over there! Fiery Dragon suddenly became tense, talking in a low tone. Be careful. Although that blood-maned giant ape won't check the place regularly, he does arrange guards. We have to avoid them with our best. Shi Yin and Yang Tian Emperor nodded, indicating that they understood. Everybody continued, moving further. All of a sudden, a beast corpse hindered their way. That beast was around 15 meters long. It was a giant snake whose body was covered in flame pattern. The snake had a triangular head. The corpse laid on the ground, as its body was cut off into several pieces. Blood had dried for a long time. At first glance, Silverhorn couldn't help but hiss maliciously. Flame-patterned viper. It didn't die because of fighting with another beast. Yang Tian Emperor frowned, scrutinizing the flat cut on the snake's body. He affirmed, a sharp weapon had chopped it off. Should be an excellent treasure. The fire-patterned viper is a level 7 beast, as strong as the Sky Realm warrior of Human Clan. As we can see, it was killed so easily, its opponent was really tremendous, said Fiery Flame faintly. Humans, Fiery Dragon discolored. He suddenly spoke up. Someone is here. They are faster than us. That flame viper is the blood-maned giant ape's underling. It guarded this place. It should be the humans who killed the snake. Yang Tian Emperor and Dishan darkened their faces as a murderous aura expanded. Especially Dishan, his malicious face distorted as if he were an enraged beast. People could even feel his resentment through his aura. Talking about formidable humans in here, no doubt they were from the 7 ancient factions. These days, the 7 ancient factions had been cruel to the Dark Devil clan and the Winged clan. Many members of the Winged clan were killed. Even Dishan was hurt severely. Get in. Shi Yin observed everywhere, then said coldly. Everybody continued their trip. Not long after that, they saw more corpses of the beasts. According to Fiery Dragon, these beasts were the blood-maned giant ape's henchmen. From the traces on the bodies, humans had killed them. Their demon crystals had been snatched. Some were skinned, and some had their bones missing. Apparently, someone wanted to collect cultivating materials from their bodies. Besides the Human clan, who would do that? Raging flame was burning in Fiery Dragon's, Fiery Flame's, and Silverhorn's eyes. They were near to the target, but they were about to reach the limit. As they were all beasts, although Fiery Dragon and Bloodmane didn't get along well. Seeing their clansmen being killed tragically like that, their crystals were taken, along with their skin. Their bones, of course, they felt indignant. Shi Yin frowned, but he still kept silent. Eventually, a crystal-clear lake that looked like a big bright mirror appeared in their visions. This lake was around 10 mu. Luxuriant foliage grew densely around the lake. This calm lake looked like a flat mirror with no ripples. From a bird's-eye view, they couldn't see things inside the lake, but only the reflected images. Energy fluctuations were thick here. A faint fog meandered above the lake, and a fresh scent permeated everywhere that could ease people's minds. Shi Yin walked to the lake and then floated aloft to observe. He couldn't see anything in the bottom of the lake, but only his reflected image. This lake was really a mirror with no ripple. Extremely weird. That's a strange barrier. No matter how hard you look, You can't see anything down there. Fiery Dragon flew toward him, explaining, "This lake is strange. I've tried to get in, but I was stopped. I couldn't jump down. Bloodmane has tried too. Apparently he didn't succeed. No one knows what stays in the bottom of this lake." "Let me try." Young Tian Emperor smiled as a thought rose in his head. A flying sword sparkled with cold light and stabbed towards the lake. Swoosh! The flying sword flashed, disappearing into the lake. However, it caused no ripple. Yang Tian Emperor discolored in fright. He was astounded. My connection with the flying sword was cut off directly. Items without life can get through the lake and arrive at the bottom, Fiery Dragon mocked. "Do you want to try?" "Okay." Yang Tian Emperor beamed a faint smile. An explosive energy, fluctuation expanded from him instantly. His aura surged torrentially as he stormed towards the lake. Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame, and Silverhorned jolted up in fear. Yang Tian Emperor only had the second sky of Spirit Realm cultivation base. However, when he burst out his power, his energy fluctuation weren't different from that of the peak of Spirit Realm warriors. Fiery Dragon, Fiery Flame, and Silverhorned were all the hotshots of the monster clan. At first glance, they got to know the dangerous features of Yang Tian Emperor. However, what surprised people more was still to come. Yang Tian Emperor was barging in like a sharp sword, but he was halted when he touched the lake's surface. The tranquil lake was pushed inwards a little bit under such a furious impact. The eyes of Shi Yan and Di Shan shrank as they were all astounded. Yang Tian Emperor's energy surged while his abundant aura rippled vehemently, as he was using the secret technique of the Yang family, balling his fist and pounding on the lake like a drilling machine. However, he couldn't break the seal. "No use," Fiery Dragon shook his head. "You're strong, indeed, much stronger than I thought, but it won't work." Even Bloodmane had tried to break the seal here. At that time, he was at rank 1 level 9. He couldn't break it, so you could never break it. Yang Tian Emperor was dumbstruck. Then he quit determinately. He got back to Shi Yan's location and shook his head. Something strange indeed. Shi Yan kept silent. He squinted, releasing his soul consciousness, trying to intrude the lake. His soul consciousness hadn't even reached the lake, yet a tenacious force had swiped it away. Sure, Yin couldn't get into the lake. The purgatory true flame is there. The one you know should be there, too. All of a sudden, the ice-cold flame sent him its sole thought. The earth flame can pierce through the seal. That's the supple power of water. You can't forcefully get through. You can only gather the power of the fiery flame to make a passage. Right after the ice-cold flame sent its thought to Shi Yan, his soul consciousness had sensed a faint heat from the lake. Sure, Yen tried to sense further. Then he could confirm it was the purgatory true flame. Anyway, why was Yi Changfeng in the lake? He couldn't figure it out. However, he didn't want to dig in further. Shi Yan summoned the earth flame and asked it to attack the supple power of the water. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.